Good afternoon. The Senate Transportation Committee will come to order. Clerk, will you open the roll?
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. All right. By prior agreement, Senator Saslaw has asked to present his bill first. Senator Saslaw, are you ready to go? All right. Senator Saslaw, tell us about your bill.
What this essentially, because of a variety of pedestrian accidents that occurred, we have a call here from a Fairfax County rep. There's been a series of pedestrian, accidents, and the number's grown dramatically. And essentially, and there's an amendment to the bill. If you notice on, I guess, line 13 and 14, it said any driver of a vehicle on the highway shall yield the right-of-way. That would be changed to stop for any pedestrian. Instead of saying yield for any to the right-of-way, it says stop for any pedestrian crossing on that highway until the pedestrian has passed the lane in which the vehicle will stop. Now, there's an amendment to that, and what the amendment is also on line 13. After the word stop, it would say, it would strike for any pedestrian crossing such highway and insert when the pedestrian is, this is VDOT suggested this, when any pedestrian crossing such highway is within the driver's lane or within the adjacent lane and approaching the driver's lane. So in other words, if they're in the lane and that's next to your lane and they're approaching, and keep in mind this only applies to streets that are 35 miles an hour speed limit or less. Doesn't apply to anything higher than that. Well, anyway, you would stop in that case until they finish that lane and yours. Now, in the lane adjacent, as they're walking away, you can then resume speed. And like I said, doesn't apply to, it doesn't apply to any streets that are where the speed limit's faster than 35 miles an hour. If you look, I guess, on line paragraph D, dealing with Arlington, Fairfax, Loudoun, and any town therein, the city of Alexandria, Fairfax Falls Church, the town of Ashland, made by ordinance can provide for the installation and maintenance of highway signs at marked crosswalks specifically requiring operators of motor vehicles at the locations where such signs are installed to yield yield the right-of-way or stop for the pedestrians crossing. So in other words, they could put both, okay? Any operator of a vehicle who fails at such location to yield the right-of-way to the pedestrians required by that could get fined anywhere from $100 to $500. In the more rural areas, it's not a problem. So this may, although nobody from finances, the staff has requested it, it may have to go there because the replacement of the VDOT's got a ton of those yield pedestrian signs in areas where you would put stop. So we'll have to try to work that out.
Okay,
But like I said, I mean, if you're in a municipality that is largely rural, and this really would not apply to you. Kind of reminds me of, I guess none of you were up here when Shad Solomon was here, but he said he had no problem. He was from Bath, and he said he had no problem voting for right turn on red because he didn't have a single stoplight in his district.
Zaslaw, as I remember, from back in my days in the House of Delegates, this bill was introduced several times, but it involved having to actually be on the curb at the far side. So this is a scaled-down version of that, just making sure that people have to clear the lane.
Right.
That, and then you
yeah,
can come in
essentially,
behind them if they're still walking across.
If they're walking in the lane next to yours and going towards your lane, yeah, then you would stop. Once they cleared that, the lane, and they're walking away from you, being in the lane next to it wouldn't matter. You could resume.
Very good. All right. Thank you, Senator Zaslaw. Are there any questions of the senator on his bill?
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm curious to see if I understand this correctly. So it would seem that this would make it very easy to stop motorists.
I didn't hear what you.
It would seem that this would make it very easy to stop motorists.
Well, you would think.
No, but what I mean is, if there's so in Roanoke City, on 581, something that has happened multiple times, is there will be two police cars there, one that has the lights initiated, and then if the car doesn't move over, they then can make the stop, and that's how you have the easy stop. It would seem to me that this would be a pretty easy stop in these jurisdictions where you'd have someone just could go back and forth crossing the street and you could stop a whole lot of vehicles. Is that not correct?
I guess in theory you could do that. I don't know many people who would do that, but keep in mind it's got to be at that crosswalk and under 35 miles an hour or less. Okay, like on Route 50, say between Seven Corners and the Beltway, where the speed limit's about 40, 45, you couldn't do that.
I know. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was thinking as an enforcement question, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Suderline. Other questions from the committee? All right. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of the bill?
No.
Those on Zoom who'd like to speak on this bill, please raise your hand electronically now, please.
Mr. Chairman, Noel Dominguez with the Fairfax County Department of Transportation on behalf of the Board of Supervisors. In 2020, you all passed a bill that clarified that the driver of any vehicle on a highway shall yield the right-of-way on a crossing by stopping and remaining stopped. However, due to federal regulations, even though now yield means by stopping, we cannot put up stop for pedestrian signage. We can only put up yield to pedestrian signage. And that makes it confusing for some residents, some bicyclists, and pedestrians. This bill would essentially clarify what was done a couple of years ago, which already said yield means to stop, by putting that in the code and allowing us to update that signage. We brought this forward because there has been a prolific increase in pedestrian and bicyclist incidents around the Commonwealth and in Fairfax County in particular. In the past couple of years, we've had numerous fatalities. This has they have kind of the community's concerns about the need to implement measures to protect our pedestrians and our bicyclists, and we feel this legislation helps do that and clarifies and gets some more safety impacts on our roads and for our residents. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Are there others here to speak in favor of the bill? Yes, ma'am. Please tell us, introduce yourself and.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair and members of the committee, for letting me speak today. My name is Sarah Bagley. I'm a member of the Alexandria City Council. I'm here to speak in support of the Senator's bill today, as we feel that it strongly supports our Vision Zero programming in an effort to reduce and eliminate pedestrian and cyclist injuries, and also just to create a safer space for people choosing to move around our cities. As a city with only streets that are 35 miles an hour or less, I'm keenly aware of how many people want to walk and bike and enroll and move around our city in other ways, and how many of them are hesitant to do so for fear of, accidents and being afraid of just such things. So clarifying this language and empowering localities to clarify their signage and to make clear to drivers that we want people to be active on our streets. It's good for our economy, it's good for our health, it's good for our environment. So anything we can do to encourage that kind of movement and make it safe and inclusive, I would ask you to support. I'd also want to remind drivers that you are pedestrians after you've parked your vehicle, that we are all pedestrians at some point, whether it's getting to our vehicle or getting out of it. So this isn't simply a one versus the other issue. We are all pedestrians at one point or another. And so I appreciate the Senator for bringing this bill and for your consideration of it today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else in favor of the bill?
There are no speakers on Zoom, Mr. Chairman.
There are none?
There are no speakers on Zoom, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much. Anyone here to speak in opposition to the bill? And I assume none in opposition on the... Oh, okay, thank you so much. All right. Unless there are any further questions, do we have a motion on the bill?
Second that.
We have a motion and a second to report. Clerk, would you open the roll, please?
Ayes 12, noes 2.
Thank you,
Ayes
Mr.
12, noes 2.
Thank you, Mr.
The bill
Chairman,
reports.
and
Thank you,
members of
Mr.
the committee. Sure.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Senator Saslaw. Just wanted to make one quick announcement as to how we're going to proceed today. I've got 5 non-members who are here to testify on bills. I want to take them first. We have 23 bills or so today to deal with. And then I want to take up a bill of mine. Secretary Shep Miller is here, and as a courtesy, I want to make sure he's got some staff members here, and I'm sure they have other things to do. And then we'll take up the Greenway bill, and then we'll resume with any other members who are not members of the committee, and then we'll deal with the rest of the docket, if that works for everybody. So at this point in time, Senator Ruff, you are up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 938. This bill is before you because of citizen concerns in our region about accidents, near accidents, and in Buckingham County last year, deaths. Some horse-drawn carts and wagons on curvy roads but are currently exempt from the laws of motor vehicles of having lights in the front and the back. At dusk particularly, there is a danger for drivers to be driving at the posted speed limit and suddenly they overcome a buggy. If that buggy has no reflectors or no lights, it becomes a very dangerous situation. This bill would require that any vehicle, any horse-drawn vehicle, either have a reflector or have some kind of light, whether it's battery operated or electric. That is the bill.
Thank you so much, Senator Ruff. Questions from the committee?
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you. Senator Ruff, looking at the bill itself, you said they could have either a reflector or an electric light, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, other questions from the committee? If not, is there anyone in the audience here to speak in favor of the bill?
If anyone on Zoom would like to speak in favor of this bill, please raise your hand electronically now, please.
Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the bill?
If anyone on Zoom would like to speak in opposition of this bill, please raise your hand now.
All right, we operate on a motion. Do we have a motion on the bill?
I move to report. Second.
We have a motion and a second to report the bill. Clerk, would you open the roll, please?
Ayes 14, no 0.
Thank you, committee, Mr. Chairman.
Ayes 14, no 0. The bill reports. Thank you, Senator Ruff. Next, we have Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I have 2 bills in front of you today.
Which one would you like to take first?
I guess numerical sequence. I've got Senate Bill 1057 dealing with the farm placards, and I have a handout here with my speaking points on it, if that could be distributed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. As you recall, last year, y'all were kind enough to help in dealing with this situation where we have authorized these farm use vehicles to be on the road as an exception to our licensing requirements. But there was abuse. There has been abuse over the years, and by abuse I mean vehicles on the road that can go to some retail store and just buy a little tag that says farm use and put it on a vehicle. The most flagrant one that I've observed, I was coming back from a meeting in Martinsville and was passed by a Tesla that had one of these tags on it. That wasn't you, it was white. It was white. It was you? Oh, okay. Well, you grow strawberries, I guess, in Virginia Beach, Senator Steph. At any rate, so all joking aside, it was a problem. Y'all were kind enough last year to pass legislation that we had envisioned. We turned it over to DMV, and we had envisioned it would go into effect this coming July of 2024. What happened in the process, we were not, I guess, as prescriptive as we could have been, and in dealing with DMV, and I will not fault them for this. I think it was a matter of just not communicating where we wanted to go. We wanted something that would not be punitive to the agriculture community, that had actually been supportive of the legislation all along, but would rather go after those individuals to set up a mechanism where we could identify individuals that were basically not appropriately using these tags. So what we have now in front is I think something that has been worked out well in conjunction with the ag communities, Farm Bureau, Agribusiness Council, the DMV, which will delay the implementation of this until July of 2024 and make some notable changes, which makes it clear what we're targeting, so that it clarifies that vehicles are allowed to claim the farm use exemption for pickup trucks, panel trucks, SUVs, and trailers and semi-trailers and vehicles over 7,500 pounds. But these placards are only be required on the pickup and panel trucks and SUVs. Okay, so that it makes it simpler. One of the problems we encountered was on farms. You have a lot of trailers that are homemade trailers that are used farm use only, and hay wagons. Even the tractors, there was some miscommunication. I think at one time people were thinking about requiring these placards on tractors. Well, we don't want to do that. We want to put them on the regular types of vehicles that are going up and down the road. And I think we've done a good job of doing that. But I do have people here to speak to that in favor of this proposal, Mr. Chairman, and I would yield to some of those if they care to come forward.
Mr. Chair, before he does that,
Senator McClellan.
on your handout it says there's a substitute. Is there a substitute?
Yes, it's online, and we do. And actually, I brought a hard copy here as well.
Okay. Second.
Okay. All in favor of the substitute, say aye.
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you.
While we're passing that out, Senator Hanger, just had one quick comment. You left out, passenger vehicles, and I assume that there are some folks who are using 20-year-old, 25-year-old cars to use as farm vehicles that, maybe have the trunk lid taken off or the back seat taken out to store things. Were they left out on purpose?
I will allow someone else to speak to that. I have been actually up in, if you go up into the more prestigious farming area, up in Marshall, I was at McDonald's there, and, a lady came in with hay bales in the back of her Mercedes. Well, that's nice, but no, she can't put a farm use placard on her Mercedes.
So the intent of your bill is no passenger vehicles other than those that are also classified as SUVs.
Right.
Okay.
All right. I think I'm clear on that.
Thank you.
Right.
All right.
Okay. And Mr. Chairman, if you want speakers,
yes, sir. While the committee members review the substitute, we'll take testimony from those in favor of the bill. So please step up, identify yourself, and let us know what you think.
Those on Zoom who would like to speak in support of this bill, please raise your hand electronically.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you. Zach Jacobs with Virginia Farm Bureau. Certainly want to thank the Senator, DMV, and DLS, Emma, and Stephen for working with us on this clarification bill. Again, this really will kind of solidify what actual vehicles are allowed to claim the exemption, also which ones actually need to obtain the placard, the physical placard from the DMV. We also have kind of, because the farm information will be applied to the application, we have ensured that their information is not transmitted in a way that would bring any harm to the operation. The next part is that we have outlined how the farm use exemption and the placard, both individually and together, can be used, and again, extending that enforcement date to July 1st of 2024. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jim Riddell with the Virginia Cattlemen's Association. We probably have the largest ag entity that has farm use vehicles in the Commonwealth, and we support this bill. We thank Senator Hanger for this. This change clears up a lot of issues that we were concerned about, and it cleans it up. And it was never meant to be something that hurt the farmer. It was really to take care of the abuse, and this will focus that right back where it belongs. So we support the bill. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. And next.
Mr. Chairman, Brad Copenhaver, today representing the Virginia Agribusiness Council. Like the other speakers, thank Senator Hanger for bringing this bill. Again, wanted to get to curbing the abuses of the program. There were some issues, and we think this bill clears up those issues, so really appreciate your work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next.
Chairman Eric Paulson with Virginia State Dairymen Association. We support the bill.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. I'm John Jones with the Virginia Sheriff's Association. We very much support this bill.
Makes it easier for your guys?
Yeah, they need it. They really do need it.
All right, thank you very much. All right, is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the bill?
If anyone on Zoom would like to speak in opposition to this bill, please raise your hand electronically.
All right, very good. Senator Hanger, anything else?
I think that's about it. There was some, when there was some confusion, there was some interest, I guess, in seeing just repealing it, but I think we're at a point where we really do need something out there to repeal this whole section. And this essentially just clarifies what we need to do and is supported broadly.
All right, thank you, sir. Senator Newman.
Did we adopt the substitute yet?
We did. We did adopt the substitute.
Hold on,
Wait,
Senator
Senator
Newman has the
Newman
floor.
has a question.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just say to Emmett, last time you were here, I told you I think this is an important bill. It's an important bill for farmers and for those that are interested in insurance and not insurance. As you know, sometimes it's a way around insurance. But I will tell you, for a lot of the guys in my area, I can understand people of other parts of the state would eventually want to get rid of these placards. They're important to us, and what you have done in the Farm Bureau, in other words, others have really fixed it. So I'm really grateful. I hope that with you and the DMV and others, they can get this implemented even before 2024. This is a really important program. Thank you for doing it.
Thanks, Senator
Newman. And Senator Newman, I would be very much in favor of continuing this. I'm up to 13 people growing tomatoes in my backyard in Fairfax County. So that's right. Do we have a motion on the bill? We have a motion and a second to report the bill. Clerk, would you open the roll?
Ayes 14, no zero.
Ayes 14, no zero. Senator Hanger, congratulations.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Chairman.
next we have Senator Edwards.
I've got one more bill.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Senate Bill 1058.
1058.
This deals with what are referred to as dashboard cameras. We have on the law, on the books, a law that says you can't put anything in your windshield like one of these new technology cameras. Well, we know, and I've consulted with the state police on this, that's being abused. There are cameras out there. Maybe some are already using, but technically they're not legal. I had a constituent who approached me about this, a doctor in Stanton, and so this we've worked on and we've reviewed it with the state police, and they actually, I think we have a substitute on that as well, Mr. Chairman. I ask that you adopt a substitute.
Okay.
Could we have the substitute, please? Or is it online?
It's on.
All right, if you would just take a moment to go online and get the substitute.
And I would say the substitute, Mr. Chairman, is very simple. It's subsection C at the end of the bill. And we just needed some clarification on there that the state police were able to offer us, which these cameras, which are increasingly small and efficient, sometimes include wires. And they wanted to make sure that all of it was substantially behind the rearview mirror, so there would be no obstruction in your visibility to the front. And I have some speaking points related to that with particular dash cams that are available, but I would submit that we basically, there are already violations out there. The state police didn't have time to run it all the way up through the channel, but they helped me put this together. And in terms of support from the administration, but they did help me put this together to make sure that it was something that would be workable, completely behind the rearview mirror, wires and everything, so that it could work.
Does it still use the word wholly or
wholly or substantially? I believe the uses to prohibit are wholly or mostly concealed behind the rearview mirror.
Okay, so mostly concealed, and that would be in the judgment of the law enforcement officers.
Right, and I have a speaking point where it was pointed out these are less obstructive of vision than, say, like the Easy Pass thing that you put up there. They're behind the rearview mirror.
Very, very good, very good. Do we have a motion on the substitute?
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second to accept the substitute. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. The substitute.
Mr. Chairman, I thought personally, if I had one of these things, I would, and Senator Obenchain could probably agree with this, we need to fix 81, so I was going to start in Winchester with one of these gadgets on, just go all the way down to Bristol, and then I could review all of that and show it to our district engineers as far as all the things I encountered along the way. But that's one of the uses.
Route 81 is an adventure, Senator Hanger. It is an adventure.
Right.
Thank you so much. All right. Is there anyone here in the audience to speak in favor of the bill?
If anyone on Zoom would like to speak in favor of this bill, please raise your hand electronically.
All right. Is there anyone electronically? We don't seem to have anybody in the audience.
There are no speakers electronically to speak in support of this bill, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the bill?
If anyone on Zoom would like to speak in opposition of this bill, please raise your hand electronically. There are no speakers electronically in opposition to this bill, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much. Do we have a motion on the bill?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to report the bill. Clerk, would you open the roll?
Ayes 14, no zero.
Ayes 14, no zero. 2 for 2. Thank you,
Mr.
Senator
Chairman,
Hanger.
members of the committee.
All right, Senator Edwards.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This bill, Senate Bill 1318, is a very simple bill. It provides a specialty license plate for the Blue Ridge Parkway Foundation with the legend Blue Ridge Parkway Foundation on it for $25 in addition to the other fees you have to pay for a license plate. The Blue Ridge Parkway Foundation has got it working with the National Park Service, and it's extremely important to Virginia. I don't know how many of y'all have been on the Parkway recently. It goes from Afton Mountain all the way past 217 miles to Galax and then on down to Asheville, North Carolina. And it's extremely well visited. I think I've read where it's the most visited of all the National Park Service parks in the world, in the country, and it has annually more visitors combined than Yellowstone, Yosemite, and the Grand Canyon combined. And it's very important. It raises over I don't know how many billions of dollars for the localities, and it's the money would be used to help with the National Park Service. The Park Service is very important, but it's understaffed. And this will help raise, I think, something like $18 million every year, if my figures are correct, for the National Park Service. We have a number of people here in support of it. I think all localities on the Parkway between Afton and down in to Galax are supporting the this license plate. So Tom Lisk is here. He's willing to testify, and we have a number of people supporting it.
Well, let's just, if we could just hear from one person in support of the bill, and then we'll have everyone have a chance to stand up and share that support. But if you could testify, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Ken McFadden. I am Director of Economic Development for Botetourt County, and I'm also a member of the Board of Trustees for the Blue Ridge Parkway Foundation. We very much appreciate your consideration of this bill, and we very much appreciate Senator Edwards for agreeing to be the patron. Senator Edwards covered a lot of territory there in terms of the economic impact that the Blue Ridge Parkway has upon the 13 localities in Virginia. That is in excess of $1 billion per year of economic impact, so it's very important in terms of economic development and tourism. And I would point out and emphasize that this plate would be the only plate that directly benefits the Blue Ridge Parkway and the National Park Service in Virginia.
Okay, thank you very much. And I understand you have like 460 or...
We have 482 of the 450 required.
Okay, that's very good. That gets you over the finish line there. Thank you so much. And could everyone here who is in favor of the bill please stand up and wave at us?
If anyone on Zoom would like to speak in support of this bill, please raise your hand electronically.
Great, thank you very, very much. And is there anyone here in opposition to the bill for this license plate?
If anyone on Zoom would like to speak in opposition to this bill, please raise your hand electronically.
Just as
You'd have to be a monster, Mr. Chairman.
What's that?
You'd have to be a monster to oppose our
I think so.
Roanoke Valley and friends north and south of us.
Oh,
I
dear.
move that we report Senate Bill 1318.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and I would add before we vote that this roadway was built during the presidency of Franklin Roosevelt, I believe, to open up the hollers so that people could get out, and it was such an early improvement to commerce and the quality of life for people in North Carolina and Virginia. So
Civilian Conservation Corps.
there you go. All right, would the clerk open the roll, please?
Ayes 14, no zero.
Wow. Okay. Did we get it?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Ayes 14, no zero.
Ayes 14, no zero. The bill reports. Thank you, Senator Edwards.
Thank you,
And,
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Next, we have Senator Reeves, and then Barker, and then we're going to go out of order. Oh, and Senator Vogel is here, too. Thank you. Okay.
Lucas is here.
Okay. Okay. Oh, they're parked. You were hiding behind a. So at any rate, so please, I guess we have up Senator Reeves. Who's next? Okay, he's not here. Senator Barker. Senator Barker, could you present your bill?
Mr. Chairman, is that Senator
Senator Cosgrove?
Baker? Is that Senator Baker or Senator Parker?
Huh?
I was just curious.
He goes by either name. Just don't call him late for lunch.
That's right. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I have Senate Bill 1345. And we over the last decade or so, we've been making huge investments in transportation and really improved our transportation around the Commonwealth. In 2013, we did work with Governor McDonald and did a major transportation initiative, first one since 1986, and dealt with a lot of the road issues and things. We've dealt with metro and transit services. We've dealt with the passenger rail, which is an extraordinary benefit to places like Lynchburg and Roanoke that have benefited and are providing actually positive financial situations these days. We've had dredging in the port area down in Hampton Roads. We're quickly getting to 55-foot depths everywhere around, and we're also providing opportunity for ships to be able to go in different directions at the same time. And now, the last couple of years, we put some more money into I-64. We're going to work on I-81 and some of those next year. But we also, in 2022, we had a report.
$235 million budget amendment there.
That's right.
For you to
That's
look
right.
at.
Yeah. I'll be checking it this afternoon. Anyway, what we also have was JLARC did a pretty comprehensive study as it relates to the port in 2022. So just this last year, JLARC did that report. And what this bill reflects is the recommendations of that report as it relates to the report that the JLARC had done. Over the last 10 years, the amount of products that we have going through the Port of Virginia, some in and some out, it's increased 67% in the last 10 years. So it's been a huge increase in volume, and we are now identified as the most efficient port in North America by the World Bank. And we're working to make sure that we are the gateway for ship travel, the commercial ships coming in and out on the East Coast, leading the East Coast now. So we have done a lot. What is proposed here is to take some of the monies that have been used to incentivize use of the port through a tax credit system and converting them to grants rather than just the tax credits. There have been issues as more tax credit the tax credits have been oversubscribed, so we've not been able to provide everybody what the tax credits they thought they would be able to get. And what we can do here is do the grants, and that was part of what the JLARC had recommended us moving forward on. And it's done post-performance, so it's only after you've been providing the service there. And what we were able to do also is be able to attract a lot of the individual cargo entities that are running these ships and to be able to get them to come to Virginia rather than somewhere else on the East Coast. So that's sort of what we have here in this particular situation, and what we have now is a lot of things that are happening as a result of the recommendations of the JLARC report, and this is one of the major ones to be able to move us forward in an economic fashion on air. And if there are any questions, I can try to answer them, but I do have my backup back here.
All right, very, very good. And will this allow us to stick it to South Carolina?
Absolutely.
All right, there we go. This is all these port bills are always important. My dad was chief of U.S. ports for a number of years in the 50s and 60s, and
Right.
So at any rate, good enough. Are there questions from the committee?
I do have a question.
Senator Favola.
Maybe this is an implementation question. So it's actually the cargo operators who are agreeing to increase their volume by
Yes.
5% annually who would be eligible for this grant.
That's correct.
As I read this. So is it the Port Authority that would be responsible for keeping records and measuring all that? And
Yes.
Okay.
That's part of their responsibility, making sure that they're providing the services, and there had been some challenges at some points, and there have been some proposals related to operations in the past, and we've addressed a lot of those issues that we've had previously.
So you feel confident the Port Authority is able to manage this program and actually
they're more than able to
succeed?
handle this program. So,
All right,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Other questions from the committee? All right, I think this bill looks to be in pretty good shape. I don't know that we need your expert here, George. You
he's standing
did a
over
great
there,
job
so-
all by yourself.
Right. Yeah.
And so with that, is there anyone here to speak in favor of the bill?
If anyone on Zoom would like to speak in favor of this bill, please raise your hand electronically.
All right, you have someone here to speak, George, behind you, so. Yes, sir.
Mr.
State your
Chairman,
name and.
members of the committee, Ethan Betterton with the Virginia Chamber of Commerce. The Virginia Chamber of Commerce is very pleased to support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Andrew Sinclair with the Port of Virginia. This is an agency bill. We appreciate Senator Barker carrying it for us so that we can implement the recommendation of JLARC. If I may, to Senator Favola's point, we do that right now on the tax credits where we verify the volumes and provide a letter to the shipper that they then take to tax to get the tax credit. So this would just be a continuation of that process, and we're very comfortable being able to do that verification.
Thank you.
And we appreciate the committee's consideration.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator, who's that? Oh, Senator Pillion.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Barker, I'm assuming that this would also help with the efforts of getting an inland port to Southwest Virginia?
This would provide opportunities for inland ports in a number of different ways, and we've actually, it also would they'll be able to transition some of the cargo that then gets either to the port or gets from the port And right now, it's utilizing a lot of trucks. We will be able to provide more service on rail and other types of situations, and that will help tremendously with lessening road maintenance costs.
81.
Yes, and also some of the 81 issues, and also be able to help us with less carbon emissions.
Yes, Senator Pillion, I understand they're going to use eminent domain to put it where your house currently exists.
I would actually be fine with that.
Okay. Your sacrifice to the Commonwealth is greatly appreciated. All right. We have any other questions from the committee? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the bill? Did I already ask that?
If anyone on Zoom would like to speak in opposition to this bill, please raise your hand electronically.
All right.
There are no speakers with their hands raised, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second to report the bill. Clerk, would you open the roll, please?
Ayes 14, no zero.
Ayes 14, no zero. The bill reports.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for all of you here from the port. We're very proud of the progress you've made over the years, and it's just such a valuable asset, and hope this puts us even in better situation. Senator Vogel. Come on up and tell us about your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I have two bills, and I'm going to start with the one that I actually understand way better than the other. How about that? How about that for honesty? Okay, so I'm going to bring you Senate Bill 1372, and this is really simple and straightforward. As you know, we have a number of license plates available in the Commonwealth of Virginia that recognize our distinguished active duty military members, as well as numerous categories of veterans. And there's one category of veterans that we do not yet recognize, and that is women's veterans. And Virginia ranks number one in the number of female veterans as a percentage of our population. We have about 107,000. And so I'm not aware that this is controversial, but I would be proud to have this pass in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and proud for us to have a plate that recognizes women veterans. So that's what the bill does.
Mr. Chairman.
Who has a question?
I did, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, Senator Cosgrove.
Senator Vogel, would this plate have to meet the 450 pre-order requirement that we have for special plates?
This one just says, let me see on the front, hold on. On the receipt of application of written evidence that they're honorably discharged. I don't believe, does that apply for every? I don't believe so.
Could we have?
I don't believe so. I think it just simply says on the written application. I don't know that that's required, but maybe I'll.
All right.
Let somebody else
Could we have
who knows.
staff clarify?
Ms. Ford to answer the question, maybe?
Oh.
DMV. Okay. Hi, Linda, please come forward and help with that question.
Mr. Chairman, Linda Ford, DMV Acting Commissioner. And yes, and they have, my understanding, over 800 folks, so it's not an issue.
Okay, thank you there.
It's the most I've ever heard in my tenure here. 800, that's great.
It's a lot.
Well, hold on. We have to, anyone here else who would like to speak in favor of the bill?
Those
Don't
on
have
Zoom?
to say much. Okay, anyone here to speak in opposition? What?
Those on Zoom who would like to speak
Before we hear anybody who opposes the bill, which I don't think we're going to have anybody, could the staff report a technical amendment?
Mr. Chairman, on line 18, this would just correct a typo. It would strike forced and insert forces, just to correct the typo.
All right, that's pretty weighty. We have a motion on that? Have a motion and a second to move the amendment. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, the amendment's there. We have have a motion and a second to report. Clerk, would you open the roll?
Ayes 14, no zero.
Ayes 14, no zero. The bill reports. All right, we're on a roll here.
Thank you,
Now,
Mr.
this
Chair.
is where we have. Senator Lucas is here. Excuse me. Oh, you have one more bill.
I have one
I'm
more.
sorry.
And thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. And thank you, Senator Cosgrove, for recognizing the thing that I should have known right off the top of my head, that rule. Okay. The next bill is something that I bring to you at the request of my sheriff, and this is Senate Bill 1456. And this deals with calibration and making consistent the time frame in which you have to recalibrate speed monitoring equipment. Right now, the rule is that for any equipment other than a photo speed monitoring device, it's 6 months, and for a photo speed monitoring device, it's 12 months. And what my sheriff tells me is that when he sends it off every 6 months, it's expensive, it's costly, and it's so far never come back with an issue. And he had asked me if I'd be willing to introduce legislation that would make it consistent across the board at 12 months for the calibration. As I understand it, somebody else has introduced this in the House, so I don't think it's particularly unusual or clearly not an unusual request. I think other sheriffs have had the same issues, and I have spoken to John Jones about it, and I think he's prepared to say a few words. There's a lot of calibration technology that I'm not that familiar with, but I'll let him speak to it.
All right, we'll let John Jones speak to it, and then we'll take questions. John?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I think the bill has been explained very well. It simply moves the recalibration from 6 months to 12 months to make it consistent among speed monitoring devices.
All right. Any questions from the committee?
Mr. Chairman, one.
Senator Cosgrove?
Thank you. This is for Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, there's a big difference between a stationary camera that monitors speed, vice a radar or LiDAR detector in a moving vehicle going over bumpy roads, et cetera. Do you really think the two are the same as far as any calibration?
Well, you can go 6 months now on photo.
Right.
So this just brings the other speed monitoring devices in line with that. That's my understanding of it.
No, this brings it to 12 months.
Yeah.
Mr.
This
Chairman.
takes it from 6 to 12.
6 to 12, right.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
All right. All right, sorry.
Other questions?
No, thank you.
Senator Servo.
Mr. Chairman, I would just ask Mr. Jones, then why don't we just make photo 6 instead of 12 and bring them into the line that way?
I'm sorry.
I mean, why don't we make photo 6 months like we do radar, LiDAR, fast car?
Go the other way.
Uh-huh.
Well, you could do that, but this is a administrative cost bill. We haven't had any problems with the 6 months. If you go 12 months, we don't think it'll be any additional issue with it.
Mr. Chairman, further question?
Senator Servo.
Mr. Jones, but wouldn't you agree that if there was a problem with a piece of equipment, we'd have a bad piece of equipment on the road falsely accusing people for an extra 6 months if it were to malfunction earlier than 12 months and we weren't to detect it until then?
Well, the vehicle inspection is 12 months. So if you have a bad vehicle with defective equipment, you would pick it up on a 12-month inspection. It just makes it consistent.
Right. Mr. Chairman.
Senator Servo.
Speaking of the bill, I mean, I think there's a big difference between defective equipment and a piece of equipment which gets to speak in court and put people in jail for 12 months or longer. And there's a reason we have a 6-month requirement when we're using electronic devices to accuse people of things as opposed to human beings, which can be cross-examined. And I think the 6-month restriction there, it's probably the number one issue that comes up in traffic enforcement cases in a courthouse. And I understand it's a burden, but so, if we're going to be using these things to put people in jail, some of us believe that, we ought to make sure that the equipment is accurate and being tested and as frequently as possible. So I appreciate it costs money, but, doing justice right costs money. So I'm just not clear why we need to do this.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to follow up with
Yes.
a piece of information, and it might be that Mr. Jones can
Please.
answer this and maybe not. But in reading about this and doing a little research, I understand that the speed equipment is calibrated at the beginning and the end of each shift. And I thought that was rather compelling, and maybe somebody else who has more expertise could speak to this. But you probably know this, Senator Sorrell, or you, does anybody know about
Chairman.
that? Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Sorrell.
Speaking to the bill, I mean, at least in my experience, officers testify that they like to calibrate their LiDAR guns before and after shift in terms of making sure that that wall is 20.3 feet away or whatever. They don't go out and run it against live cars every time they run it. They just go out and make sure it sees the right distance. But there are other types of speed measuring devices, for example, radar, which you can't calibrate pointing at a wall. You have to go out and run it against live traffic, and they don't calibrate radar before and after shifts. So they claim to calibrate LiDAR, but again, it's only to see that it's measuring a distance correctly, not a speed. And so that's the type of calibration that occurs. The 6-month calibration is the type of a calibration where they point it at a moving car and say that car is going 62 miles an hour, I'm sorry, and I should say also with radar, what they do is they use a tuning fork. They'll hit a tuning fork on the ground and it'll vibrate at 35 miles an hour, and they'll hold that in front of the gun, and they claim that that's a calibration. But the formal calibration, they run it against equipment that's been measured every 6 months to make sure it's seeing the right speed is the right speed. So, I mean, that's what we're talking about changing here.
Okay. Would the state police step up and?
Thankfully, I can phone a friend.
Okay, there you go.
Mr. Chairman, Ron Maxey, Virginia State Police. And I'll agree, I don't do that every day nowadays, so I don't expect John to know that right now either. Radar is calibrated before and after shift. The devices are calibrated before and after shift, regardless of what that is, LiDAR or radar itself. It is calibrated using the tuning forks. The tuning forks are what are sent for calibration every 6 months. So in this situation, if it was to go to 12 months, the tuning forks would just be sent off. It's also calibrated against the speedometer, which currently we certify every 6 months. So radar and the speedometer are calibrated against each other at the beginning and the end of the shift at 5 mile per hour increments for the speedometer.
Okay.
If that
Senator,
helps.
Senator Sorrell, does that help?
It sort of, Mr. Chairman, again, speaking to the bill, the speedometer is checked every 6 months. So if the speedometer against which the radar is used is inaccurate because somebody didn't check it for 6 months, then it's possible that the radar gun might not be reading the speed accurately either. I mean, this is why we ask them to check every 6 months, and we have probably for 40 years, if not longer. Like, this statute is one of the most heavily used statutes in traffic court of any statute. So anytime there's any change to it, it wakes up a lot of people. And so to people in court, to my clients at least, this isn't some administrative cost or burden. It's a question of whether, the government's using accurate evidence or not.
Well, Senator Sorrell, this brings up the question, how often on a 6-month check do we find that the equipment is out of calibration?
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Ron Maxey, again, State Police. I can tell you I've done this for 30 years. I've never had one come back that was not. We will occasionally have a tuning fork that will go out of calibration, and that's personally. Again, State Police has no position on this bill. I was just stepping up to clarify.
So in other words, we're pretty safe to assume that because of the excellent history at 6 months, that 12 months is not likely to be.
Correct. There's checks and balances. 6 months just make sure that the company is certifying these as being accurate to comply with law. But daily, we compare the speedometer to the radar. If any of those do not come up within accordance within the variance, then there would be an issue, and we'd take it out of service at that day.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Any other questions from the committee?
Mr. Chair, I would just speak to that question, and that was what my sheriff had texted earlier, and he said it's an expense that is always a challenge, and it's taking them out of service every 6 months, and he said never has anyone come back that showed it was an issue.
Yeah, that would be my biggest concern personally. All right. If there are no other questions from the committee, is there anyone here to speak in support of the bill?
Those on Zoom who would like to speak in support of this bill, please raise your hand electronically.
Scott Filling of Fauquier County. I support this bill.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? How about those in opposition to the bill? Anyone here would like to speak?
Those on Zoom who would like to speak in opposition to this bill, please raise your hand electronically.
Okay.
There are no
we don't
speakers
seem
with
to
their
have
hands raised.
anyone there. Senator Vogel, anything else before we put it to the test?
No, I would just say I appreciate the committee's time, and I always do what my sheriffs ask me. Most of the time.
Well, very, very good.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Always listen to policemen, right? All right, there we go. Do we have a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
We have a motion to report in a second. Clerk, would you open the roll?
Ayes 10, noes 4.
Ayes 10, noes 4. The bill reports. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Senator Vogel.
I
Senator-
really appreciate it.
Senator Lucas.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, I thought my staff had signed me up so that I could come before you a little bit earlier,
Well,
but I
they
still
did,
have
but
time
you-
to make my next meeting.
But somebody had to go last.
Yes, they did.
Yeah,
I had to
it
go
always
last.
happens. But,
Okay, Mr. Chairman, this is Senate Bill 1216, and the bill is set for uninsured and underinsured motorist insurance coverage for transportation network companies, TNC, and that's Uber and Lyft, at the same rate as personal vehicles. The new requirement will be $30,000 for bodily injury per person and $60,000 for bodily injury for accidents, $20,000 for property damage, whether or not there are people in the vehicle, but with the requirement requested of VTLA, and I want to give them a shout out for working on this bill as well, that the full TNC policy be available even when there is other insurance available. Because the levels are tied to the levels of all drivers, they will insure in 2025 to $50,000 for bodily injury per person and $100,000 per accident and $25,000 for property damage. And if you'd like for me to go on, I have lots more.
All right. If you feel that's enough, do we have any questions from the committee? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of the bill?
If anyone on Zoom would like to speak in favor of this bill, please raise your hand electronically.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Nicole Brenner with Reed Smith on behalf of Uber. Thank the patron for bringing this bill forward and the VTLA for working with us on the set-off provisions. As many of you recall, Virginia was a leader on regulating Uber in 2015, and this is one of only 2 instances where other states did not follow us. We would ask for your support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Anyone else in favor of the bill? Senator Newman.
For Nicole, just so we understand, this is really just changing uninsured motorists and underinsured motorists. Everything we put in place in 2015 about the $1 million policy, if the Uber driver causes an accident, will still be covered at $1 million. Is that
Yes,
correct?
sir. The $1 million general liability policy is unchanged by this legislation.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for
Senator Serval.
Thank you. I just want to make sure everybody understands what it is we're voting on here. So underinsured and uninsured motorist coverage has to do with basically when somebody hits an Uber who doesn't have enough coverage. So basically what you're voting for, if you vote for this bill, is that if somebody is a passenger in an Uber, so they've chosen to ride in this Uber, and the Uber driver is driving along doing nothing wrong, and somebody, drunk driver, some crazy driver comes out of nowhere, causes a collision, and has either no insurance or not enough insurance, the passenger basically won't have a way to recover for a significant injury, right?
Mr. Chair, the at-fault driver's policy would cover first, and then the Uber policy. And I would add that over the last 24 months in Virginia, 0.000032% resulted in an uninsured or underinsured motorist claim that would be at a value higher than the limits that are in this bill.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Serval.
the answer to my question is that's correct, Senator Serval, right?
If there wasn't a tertiary policy, the passenger could have a policy too.
Mr. Chairman.
Serval.
Wouldn't it be correct that, for example, the Uber passenger, maybe they don't have a car, and they use Uber to get around, and say this awful driver that's drunk or a horrible driver who runs into them and gives them a brain injury and turns their life upside down, who has, say, a $25,000, a $30,000 minimum policy, the maximum recovery they'll get is $30,000 because we vote on a bill that gets rid of this $1 million limit that allows them to be compensated for their injury. Is that right?
Mr. Chairman, these are reminiscent of law school hypotheticals. I agree. If there are 3 policies not in this case and it is over that, yes.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from the committee? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of the bill?
There are no speakers with their hands raised in favor, Mr. Chairman.
Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the bill?
If anyone on Zoom would like to speak in opposition, please raise your hand electronically.
All right. Senator Lucas, you want to close with anything here?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. There is no change to the general liability policy for when TNC driver is at fault, as Nicole has already said. That remains $1 million. The current TNC, UIM policy is expensive, but very rarely ever used. And I think, even though I know where Senator Servo or how he's going to vote, I think he might want to get his own bill and argue that point.
All right.
Mr. Chairman.
First, I think I had Senator DeStaff, and then I'll get to Senator Obenchain.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Lucas, just a quick question. I've heard multiple times us say that very rarely is it used, 0.000% is it used. Can we get a specific example? Because if it's 0.0013, that means it's 1 or 2 in Virginia. So when it's gone over the limit, has it gone over the limit by $5,000 or has it gone over the limit by $1 million? I'm just trying to get a little bit more clarification. And Senator Lucas, I see you have one of your statisticians walking up to help you out on this one.
That's exactly right.
I can answer that.
Senator Obenchain.
Yeah, I can. There is no answer to your question except to say that if you are in that small percentage, you're going to be out of luck. You're going to be bearing that burden by yourself. There are, everybody's exactly right, that the vast majority of those claims are going to be resolved within the policy limits that Senator Lucas is proposing, the vast majority. But there are going to be more serious injuries. And right now, the coverage that's provided, if there's no passenger in the car, the minimum limits, I think I'm right, the limits are not $1 million. If they have a passenger in the car, the limits are $1 million. And, that's to provide protection for that passenger against being injured either as a result of the negligence of the Uber driver or the negligence of a deadbeat driver who causes a catastrophic injury while you are a passenger in that Uber and presumably are relying upon some level of protection and fiscal responsibility. And I apologize, I did not intend to speak to this except for the fact that this small percentage is going to be out of luck.
Senator Obenchain, would that mean that they would just be limited or they totally?
So if I'm a quadriplegic, rendered a quadriplegic as a result of this crash by a deadbeat, uninsured driver that is entirely their fault, I've got no coverage, he has no coverage, I collect under this, I guess the $30,000 or whatever the limits are being reduced to, but my claim is going to be worth, I will have lost well over $1 million in terms of just my medical bills in all likelihood, not even including my pain, my suffering, my lost income.
Senator Obenchain, would someone still have a civil claim against the deadbeat person without the car insurance against their home or their assets?
If they have assets, my experience, and I think the experience of most people, is that if they have no car insurance or minimum limits, they are judgment proof.
Okay. Senator Lucas, and maybe Nicole can help us out here. How much money are we talking about saving here, for the drivers of these vehicles? I mean, I would assume it's a substantial amount of money.
And I'd also like for Nicole to speak to the fact that there are 40 other states who have it exactly like we have in this bill. Nicole?
Good to know. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I think I've conceded the point on what Senator Obenshain and Senator Servell are talking about. I would say in the 8 years since this law has been in place in Virginia, it's been enacted in almost every state in the country. We were one of the first 3 or 4 states to regulate Uber. Senator Newman and Senator Obenshain brought those bills in 2015 when I was staffing this committee. Virginia is one of 9 states to have a level like this. The National Commissioners on Insurance put out a model TNC insurance law. Since that time, it recommends minimum limits for UM/UIM. The DMV pointed that out in their 2016 report on TNCs after we'd had TNCs around for 1 year. This is the recommendation from the insurance commissioners. Virginia is out of line. We waited 8 years to bring this back to you, to bring Virginia back in line with all of these other 40 states that have it at this level. I would also point out that since before Uber was around, their taxis insurance is $25,000, $50,000 for liability and UM/UIM. If this was happening, perhaps it would have been brought forward to have you increase those levels if that was an issue.
Okay, thank you. Senator Steph, I believe you had a question, and then I believe Senator McClellan has one.
Okay, and Mr. Chair, Senator Lucas, Nicole, please don't go too far away.
I'm going to just put my arm around Senator Lucas. I'm going to stand right
There
here.
you go, just smile.
That would be great.
That's how I put my arm
We'll
around
make a
her, I
good team.
smile and pray. So, I just want to make sure I understand this. So, and I'm going to go back to my original question. Literally, how many times in Virginia, let's say in the last 2 years, have we gone above what the minimum limits are that we're talking about here?
Senator Steph, I was nodding when Senator Obenshain said there's not an answer. I don't have literally every claim statistic with me. I'm happy to go back and ask what that number is and bring it to you. I don't know what the exact number is of the exact number of claims that would have been over in a set period of time in Virginia versus nationally.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I'm just going to.
Senator Steph.
If you could please get that before it gets to the floor. And then I've got one other question. So I want to make sure that it's my understanding, and we're really clear about this, this brings Uber insurance in line with a taxi's insurance. So now they're on a level playing field.
No, much higher.
So this still says now Uber's much higher when it comes to uninsured motorists?
Yeah, they're at $25.50 for uninsured motorists because it's compulsory coverage with their liability coverage. So we have $1 million liability, they have $25.50. UM/UIM is compulsory, so I assume they also have $25.50 UM/UIM. We're going to 30, 60, 20. Those are the buckets, 30,000, 60,000, 20,000. They're at 25, 10. We also tie ourselves to the state minimum limits that you and I are required to have. So in 2025, those are automatically increasing to 50,000, 100,000, 25,000. We'll be tied to that in 2 years. Taxi stays at 25.50.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Senator McClellan.
Mr. Chair, just to cut to the chase for a minute, I'm not as interested in whether this puts us in parity with other states. I'm more interested in the passenger in the car. What happens if I'm getting a ride with Scott Servell?
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
Okay. Well, I definitely don't want to ride with Senator Lucas in her Hummer. But all right, if I'm a passenger in Senator Boysko's car,
We're not going to have an accident.
we're not. Versus I'm a Uber passenger. Will the minimum amounts of insurance required be the same? And will I be, if there's an accident, will the risk that I will be, not compensated enough be the same? Versus if I'm in Senator Boysko's car versus I'm in an Uber?
You'll actually be better off in the Uber because of the provisions that we worked out with VTLA, because on your personal policy this year, you can elect a set-off that would mean there's a credit taken against your personal insurance if the at-fault driver had insurance, so it reduces how much of your coverage is available, and Uber will be prohibited from electing that set-off and the full amount of the Uber policy, whatever is applicable this year and 2 years, any category, the full amount will be available regardless of if any other insurance policy is available. So you're better off in the Uber than in Senator Boysko's car, although I'm sure she's a very safe driver.
And incidentally, I'm not driving a Hummer. I'm driving a 2022 Navigator.
There we go. Navigating through life. I like it. There we go. Any other questions from the committee? Senator Cosgrove.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Nicole, who pays these premiums?
Uber pays for the policy, sir.
Not the drivers.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Cosgrove, no, sir. We're talking about insurance that the company is paying. Speaking on behalf of Uber, we have this policy.
Yeah, gotcha. Senator Cosgrove, I believe the Uber drivers have their own policies as well, do they not?
Mr. Chairman,
For operating their vehicle when they're not Uber drivers.
the law contemplates that TNC insurance could be provided by the driver. I don't think in reality that's what's happening. Speaking on behalf of Uber, I don't know if there's some sort of third TNC out there who's not Uber and Lyft. I remember in 2015 when y'all passed the bill, Geico came out with some add-on policy for a person. Uber is paying for this policy.
Okay. Senator Newman.
Nicole or Senator Lucas, clearly, if something happens to you, you will also have access to your own health insurance. I mean, I just want to make sure we're clear,
Yes.
so that it's not as if you're. And if you do have health insurance, and you have this insurance, are you able to still in Virginia double collect?
On a medical claim, Mr. Chairman, Senator Newman, I'm certainly not an expert on the interplay between medical claims and insurance. My understanding is those companies work out between the two of them who is responsible for something like a hospital bill. Okay, Senator Obenshain's shaking his head, which means I'm wrong. So I'll let Senator Obenshain answer on behalf.
Subrogation still exists, right?
Mr. Chairman, the answer
Senator
is
Obenshain.
It depends. If you have private health insurance, they cannot request reimbursement from the auto insurance, but if you are insured through a self-insured plan, they will ask you to repay them everything that they have paid on your medical bills. So if you work for a large employer or you don't have health insurance, there's no double dipping.
Mr. Chairman, just last question.
Senator Newman.
Maybe to Mark, I don't know, or Serville. But if you're driving, or if you're in an Uber and you have your own $300,000 policy for 300, or whatever it may be, are you covered by your own policy while in the Uber and you are hit by an uninsured motorist?
Mr. Chairman, I believe the answer is that the uninsured motorist coverage for the Uber, for the car in which you're a passenger, is primary.
Well, after that, do you pick up?
After that, if you have uninsured motorist coverage, yes, it stacks on top.
Okay, great. Thank you. Other questions
Mr.
from
Chairman.
the committee?
Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry. Senator Servo?
Thanks. I was in the queue there. I just want to clarify, I guess it's a question for Ms. Brenner. You said that you're better off in an Uber than in somebody else's car. I just want to make clear, that's only the case if you own a car. If you don't own a car, you don't have insurance of any kind whatsoever, and so the only insurance that you can rely on is whatever Uber has.
So speaking to Senator McClellan Mr. Chairman, Senator Serville, speaking to the scenario where Senator McClellan is a passenger in Senator Boysko's car, I was saying you were better off, and under that scenario, the at-fault driver's policy is first. And so you're better off because you have the at-fault driver's policy and then the Uber policy, so you could have more coverage available. You have the full amount of the Uber policy, whereas presumably folks will start electing a set-off this year to take a credit against their own policy, in which case if Senator Boysko elects that you would have the at-fault driver's policy and a reduced amount of Senator Boysko's policy. I think what you're saying is if you're the passenger, you're talking about your own policy. I think that's third. So we're talking about at-fault driver, then Uber, then the passenger.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, Senator Lucas, any closure you want to make?
I think enough's been said, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move that this bill be reported.
Okay.
I know there's
all right. Is there a motion on the bill?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we report the bill.
Second. We have a motion and a second to report the bill. Clerk, would you open the roll?
Ayes 10, noes 3, abstentions 1.
Ayes 10, noes 3, 1 abstention. The bill reports. And if we could have, I think there was some information asked for before the, if you could repeat that, Senator DeStaff.
Mr. Chair, Senator Lucas.
He would like to have some data.
I'd like to get the report, if possible, on the number of incidents in Virginia in the last 2 years. And I would also like to say thank you for both of you for undergoing the interrogation that you've just received. So
thank you,
very
Mr.
much.
Chairman and members of the committee, and I know that other patrons are glad that my bill was last.
Yeah, well, that's great. And thank you, Senator DeStaff, for doing that to make sure that we're fully informed when this comes to the floor. Now, Can I speak about that, we've dealt with the bill. It is now. I'm going to go a little bit out of order because our Secretary of Transportation is here and his staff to deal with this bill. So usually the chair goes last, but I'm going to go right now, and then we'll go to Senator Survell's bill for the that deals with franchise issues around automobile dealerships. And then we'll move on with the rest of the docket that committee members have. So, Senator Favola, would you please assume the throne, and we'll take it from there. Sure.
Senator Marsden, is this Senate Bill 1162?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay.
Thank you so much. This is the most studied road in America, the Loudoun County Greenway. Last year, we had a bill, and the administration, through the kindness of our Secretary of Transportation, Shep Miller, asked if we could send this to the administration for them to study, and they've come to the conclusion that the bill that I'm about to introduce is something that they are in favor of, and they can testify to that. And basically, what it does is take the Loudoun County Greenway, which is a privately operated toll road, and takes it out of the Highway Corporation Act and puts it into the potential of a PPTA, public-private partnership. That will negotiate certain things as the bill requires about distance full tolling, distance tolling, or excuse me, what's called distance pricing. In other words, right now on that road, you pay the full price whether you go one exit or whether you go end to end. And that is a big matter of contention. So that this bill, if it is determined by the commissioner that this is in the public interest, we will transfer to this, and a negotiation will take place with the owners of the Greenway to establish the possibility here to help deliver lower tolls, set the stage for distance-based pricing that everyone agrees is the right long-term goal, improve the regional transportation network. And when I say regional, this road has shifted over time. I think the Secretary can affirm that they did a study at the Department of Transportation, reading license plates, that only 45% of the use of this private toll road is from residents of Loudoun County, and then the rest comes from Fairfax, West Virginia, Frederick, Clark, Warren, City of Winchester, and I'm sure there's some other users there, but it's become a regional project, not just one for Loudoun County, and therefore the state has a considerable interest in getting this right. And what the hope is here is that with distance-based pricing, is that Loudoun County drivers will no longer be 45% of the user, but a much higher proportion, because people won't use it just to go one exit. But they will if they can get a drastically reduced price in going 1 or 2 exits or 3 exits and not having to pay the full toll. It will relieve traffic on nearby roads. It will put people onto the Greenway. And I think there is a sweet spot that we can arrive at that will enable the Greenway to serve more people, earn more revenue, become a more viable road, because it has been difficult over the years. If we don't do this, the only thing this is going to happen is going to go to the, continue to go for rate reviews, and this is just the road to higher prices end to end on this highway. And with that, I would like to bring up the Secretary to make some comments, and we do have some experts here on this very complex legal matter. I believe former Secretary of Transportation Pierce Homer is here to answer questions, as this is something that he is very familiar with. And if I could have the Secretary approach the podium and just give us a few words before we
Mr. Chairman,
move forward.
Before the Secretary come, may I ask a question?
Senator Sproul.
Before the Secretary come, may I ask a couple questions?
Yes, you've got the.
Yes, sir.
So you're trying to say that everywhere else in the state, when you got multiple tolls, you pay according to what extra you get off. So you're trying to say now, by fixing this, that you're trying to fix it so if I get off at toll 2, toll 3, I pay for that when I get off, not pay one toll for the whole thing.
That is correct. Essentially, this will now operate like every other toll road in the Commonwealth of Virginia. That's a good point, Senator Sproul. And that's what we want here, because right now, because it's under the Highway Corporation Act.
Keep quiet. Let me talk. That's my question.
Senator Sproul, follow
Thank
up.
you, Madam Chair. I apologize. Second question. When you say potential, that means is it going to happen or it may happen? Remember, I live in Virginia. You live in the other Virginia. You know that. So what you're saying, that is something that's going to happen if it passes, you projected that it may happen?
I bet that I'm thinking that the best way to explain this is that it will allow us to enter into a negotiation to make this a public-private arrangement with the Commonwealth of Virginia. I would say that there are no guarantees, but this allows us to move forward in that process. I believe, unless I'm wrong,
Senator Sproul, why don't we listen to the Secretary?
But I don't want to hear him, Mr. Chairman. I want to hear my question from him.
Okay.
No disrespect to him, he's my friend. The last question, what happened during the negotiation and it's not worked out to what you were saying according to the bill? What happened if the negotiation and it's not worked out?
If it does not, I would assume that it reverts it stays where it is in the Highway Corporation Act. I'm thinking that that's essentially what happens here, and we make no progress. This is an attempt to fix this road once and for all. It's been a difficult thing for 10 years, and there are folks who are in opposition to this.
Thank you,
There are
Madam
folks in
Chair.
favor, and I would just ask the Secretary if he
We
could
will
come up
ask
and
the
address us.
Secretary to come forward, and I think we are determining this is a process. This is a process. Welcome, Secretary Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you all in the committee. Appreciate your having me here today. Thank you, Chairman Marsden. So, as the chairman said, this has been a problem for a long time. People have been complaining about it in Northern Virginia, and I got on board here a year or so ago and became fully aware of it. And they asked me to take a look, and so I've taken a look. So, Senator Sproul, to your point, it now resides in the Highway Corporation Act. It's the only one in the state that resides there. It's it. That's it. And it's a very cumbersome process to work through that act. It's the same process, in essence, that Dominion goes through to get rate changes.
Thank you, sir.
And so it's a difficult thing. It does not have distance-based tolling, to the chairman's point. If you get on in the beginning, you pay, no matter how far you go, you pay the same rate. And there's other issues with it as well. But it's what this bill does, Madam Chairman and Senator Sproul, to your point, it merely allows us to have a conversation with the owner of the road to see if we can find something that makes sense for the citizens of the Commonwealth and for the toll payers of the Greenway. And frankly, in our conversations, we have a series of meetings with our friends in Loudoun County. There would not be a party to the deal or negotiator in the deal, but we brought them in because obviously the road is in their county, and we wanted to know what they felt and what they heard and what they were believing, or what they're hearing, what they think. And so we talked to both groups, and I think there's a way forward. I think there's an opportunity to get something that's better for the toll payers, better for the citizens of the Commonwealth, and for the citizens of Loudoun County. If we can't find that, it stays where it is, and we surrender and we move on. I just don't believe that's the best interest of the folks there, and I think we can get it done. And so I'm hopeful. It's not going to be easy, and the concept here, folks, just we're not laying out a deal to be voted on. We're not bringing the deal back. But the basic concept is nobody gets enriched here. We want to change the structure. That's my goal, is to change the structure. Nobody gets richer or poorer. We're not trying to help a developer or a road operator or anybody else. We're trying to help the citizens and the toll payers there. And the way we would think about doing that was go to distance space, reduce the tolls, and push out the term. At the end of the day, we think that gives people what they want. It's not perfect, and we don't have that deal. I can't tell you we're going to have that deal. I'm telling you that's what I'm thinking, and that's what I've been discussing, and I think there's a way forward, and I think we ought to give us an opportunity to see if we can find a solution. And if we can't, we can't, but I think we can.
Okay, are there questions for the Secretary?
Madam Chair.
Senator Boysko, then Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Secretary, I really appreciate your work on this. As you know, I carried this bill last year. This is something that my community has been concerned about for years and years. We are told at some of my constituents spend more than $400 to $500 a month just to get from job to home. And I'm very happy that it looks like we have the opportunity to make some change. Question for you, though, is so that everybody understands what we're talking about today is that if we pass this bill, then the Commonwealth will be able to go into a negotiation to start a conversation that could create distance-based tolling, reduce the prices, and to move it to a public-private partnership. Is that correct?
100%.
Okay, so there's still collaboration that can continue to happen. There are no specific answers being created today.
Yes, ma'am.
This is the okay to start moving forward to help give some relief to my voters who are on this is my district, so I'm very passionate about this. I represent Leesburg at the end to Herndon and Sterling at the beginning of it. So I just want to express my gratitude for your collaboration, to Loudoun County for the participation, and just wanted to make sure that I understood and everybody else in the room understood exactly what this bill is and what it's not.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have a question for the Secretary and a kind of comment on the bill. Mr. Secretary, I'd ask you if you had a crystal ball in front of you, if you were successful in negotiations to set up distance tolling in a manner that's attractive to the motorists of Northern Virginia, it would seem to me that you would actually see more traffic on that road and more revenue on that road than people trying to dodge it because they're paying the same price to go 1 mile as they are to go 30 miles. Would that be in your crystal ball the same way?
You would expect demand to increase, yes, sir.
All
But
right,
the
thank
revenue is a function of throughput and price.
All right, thanks.
So it's depends on your second question, it depends. First question, absolutely.
Well, if I might make a comment on the bill.
Yeah. Do you want to make a comment now, Senator Cosgrove, or would you rather wait
I'll
until
wait,
we
yeah.
hear all the debate? I think that's wise. Senator Obenchain.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Chair, Secretary, can you tell me whether you anticipate any scenario pursuant to which this will require an outflow of funds on the part of the Commonwealth?
0.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator Sproul.
Mr. Secretary, the way it is now, or if something be worked out, is there a chance this road will ever be paid off?
Yes, sir.
You have, Madam Chair,
Yep. Follow up, Senator Sproul.
could you say how many years from
Right
now?
now, it's 2050. 2056 is the current term, sir, for it to be paid off. If we reduced the tolls
Yes, sir.
and the demand did not offset that fully, it would be further out than 2056.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Secretary Miller, do you have any final comments? I hope you can stay and listen to this soon-to-be robust debate.
Ma'am, at the end of the day, Madam Chairman, the Commissioner and I both have to find this is in the best interest of the Commonwealth and its citizens. So that would be the test that we would apply. Okay. And I've tried to give you my general view of how things should. We're not looking for a subsidy from the Commonwealth. We're not looking for money going out. We're merely, what I would be pursuing is merely some sort of restructure that would allow distance-based, lower toll rates to the benefit of the citizenry. And that's the goal.
Thank you, and thank you for being with us this afternoon. Senator Marsden, do you have other speakers? I will ask now who might be in favor of this proposal to come forward.
Madam Chair, I mean, I could bring up endless experts here, but I think the thing is to take those in favor and those in opposition. And then
Okay. For those in favor who are in the audience, I would ask that you just keep your remarks to less than 2 minutes.
Those on Zoom who would like to speak in favor of this bill, please raise your hand electronically.
Will you please come forward?
Thank you. My name is Scott Filling. I'm from Fauquier County, and I support this bill. I think with inflation and the prices that all Americans and Virginians are facing, this would be a good move in the right direction. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Nick Clementi. I'm here sorry about that. I'm here in 2 capacities. So first, as a employee of the Northern Virginia Chamber of Commerce, and we support the bill. And second, I want to second what Senator Boysko said, because when I ran for the House of Delegates in Leesburg, I live at the end of the Greenway. I take Route 7. You know, I have to go down Route 7 and then down Loudoun County Parkway if I ever want to take the Metro. At that point, I might as well just drive on into Reston, take the Metro there. But I knocked every door, 8 of the 11 precincts, and the number one thing I heard about the Greenway was distance-based tolling. I think you can back me up on that one. And you know, we have a Metro now in Ashburn, and if I had distance-based tolling, it would be a lot more attractive to take the Greenway. And, you know, my poor fiance does, doing her medical rotation at Inova in Fairfax. She's going all the way down Route 7, just leaving at 3:30 in the morning. And so she doesn't want to pay the tolls. And so if we had some type of distance-based tolling, I think a lot more use would be on the road. I'll tell you, as a resident of the town of Leesburg, I would certainly use it more. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Anybody else in the audience wishing to speak in favor? Okay, seeing none. Are there anybody in Zoom who
Yes,
would like
there
to
are
speak
several
in favor?
speakers, Madam Chairman.
Again, I'd ask you to keep your remarks to less than 2 minutes. Please let them in.
Jason Ruffner, please unmute and provide your testimony now.
Good afternoon. My name is Jason Ruffner. I'm a lifelong resident of Northern Virginia. I'd like to be aware of my support for SB 1162. I support this legislation because I use the Dulles Greenway a lot, and I believe that the tolls in the Greenway will be reduced if the Greenway is regulated like all other toll highways in Northern Virginia are. Currently, the Dulles Greenway is the only toll road in the region for which tolling is regulated by the State Corporation Commission. Meanwhile, other toll roads like on 495 and 395 and 66, they're regulated by the Public-Private Transportation Act of 1995 that allows for distance-based tolling. Let's please stop the annual rise in tolls on the Greenway. allow the Greenway to be regulated by the Public-Private Transportation Act of 1995. It would enable a fair distance-based tolling system, something the STC regulation does not. That's why I strongly encourage you to please support SB 1162. Thank you very much.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience wishing to speak in opposition? Oh, I apologize. There are 3 more speakers on the platform in favor.
Joe Graham, if you can unmute and provide your testimony now.
Thank you. I've echoed Jason's comments, and I have a little bit different experience as a business owner here in the county. We operate and run a small fleet of vans, and because of that, I've got 2 guys in a van, and I have to look at it as a calculation of time, labor, gas, and the expense of sending them all the way around to get 2 exits down on the toll road. So when I make those calculations, I have to look at all my other costs, and it always comes down to, either taking the toll or doing the long lap around. Last year, my toll bill for the entire year was over $6,500. And that's just for my business use. That does not include my personal use for my wife and our family. So I look at that as a huge cost that gets passed along to Loudoun County residents. Those are our customers. So whether the residents are using it and paying that high toll rate themselves, or they're calling me to do a job for them and I've got to pass that toll rate along to them, they're paying it. So I look at it like, if I've got to go a mile down the toll road, it should cost a lot less than driving the full length. And I use it all day, every day. And, it's $4,000 or $5,000 of toll throughout the year that could be reinvested in my business. It'd be nice to maybe take a vacation once in a while. There are a lot of other things I'd rather do with all that money, and I could cut my bill substantially if you could support distance-based tolling. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
2 more. Ali Khan, if you can unmute and provide your testimony now.
Good afternoon. My name is Ali Khan. I'm a small business owner. XRV is located in Herndon in Fairfax, Virginia. We do a lot of motorhome rentals. We do a lot of deliveries in Loudoun County, especially to the wineries and stuff like that. With this distance-based tolling, it will be more competitive for us in terms of pricing. Instead of paying 1 toll for traveling 2 exit or all the way through to Leesburg. So I'm in favor of Bill 1162. Thank you.
Thank you.
And lastly, Stephen Frazier, if you could unmute and provide your testimony now.
Yes, thank you, members of the committee. Appreciate the time. My name is Stephen Fraser. I, too, am a business owner. However, I am supporting SB 1162, and I urge all of you to do the same. I do so not just as a business owner, but I do it as a 25-year resident of Loudoun County that has seen the growth here. I know many of our employees have to come from Western Loudoun, and the cost of the Greenway causes them to have to go 7, extending their transit time. But it's also not just for the members of Loudoun. It's not for our residents. It's for all the people, all the visitors that come to our great county. It just seems like a very logical progression that, frankly, we've talked about for 10 years. I've been a Loudoun County resident for 25 plus years. And I think we have a responsibility to open the discussion and have these discussions. Because I do firmly believe it is in the best interest, not just of our residents, but of people visiting our great county. So thank you, and I will yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does that conclude our speakers in favor?
Yes, there are no more speakers in favor of this bill, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak in opposition to this bill?
If anyone on Zoom would like to speak in opposition to this bill, please raise your hand electronically.
Good morning,
Welcome.
Madam Chair. I'm sorry, good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I'm Phyllis Randall. I am the Chair at Large of the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors. And obviously, there is nobody who doesn't want distance-based tolling. We've been fighting for this for years. And obviously, if we got distance-based tolling done this year, especially in the election year, I would go out and campaign on that and probably win just because of that. So obviously, we believe in Loudoun County there's more to this issue than just the distance-based issue. If that was all that it was, we'd be fully in support of this. But there's a little more to that than this, and I think we should have a deeper conversation. If the Greenway was converted from the HCA to a PPTA, the Commonwealth would own the road. The conversion from the private company to the if we convert this public asset, there's financial implications for the Commonwealth, but more important, there's financial implications to Loudoun County. Taxes are paid by the private company to both the Commonwealth and to Loudoun County. And the Greenway pays for services such as police services on the road. None of that's been discussed, and we have no idea how many taxes the Greenway nor Loudoun County would lose. Not having these items in front of us and not knowing this, we're hoping we get a distance-based tolling. We know for a fact we're going to lose tolls. That's not a question anymore. The proposed legislation delegates to the administration and to any administration only the ability to negotiate this agreement. It completely cuts out the General Assembly. It completely cuts out Loudoun County. It completely cuts out the Board of Supervisors in Loudoun County. The proposed legislation does not require a cost-benefit analysis to determine the impact on the toll road, the operators, or the toll rate payers under either the HCA or the PPTA for the existing road. We recommend and think there should be a cost-benefit analysis to determine the financial risk of the Commonwealth. We would like to see the Secretary of the Finance perform this cost-benefit analysis prior to the Commonwealth of Virginia entering into a PPTA. Otherwise, the Commonwealth of Virginia will enter into an agreement that could be detriment to the Commonwealth. Obviously, and I will say this once again, if the issue was as simple as we're going to lower the tolls or have distance-based tolling, we would be in full support of this. And in fact, we are obviously all in full support of distance-based tolling, but there is more to it than that. And to answer a question, I think, by Mr. Cosgrove, because we have built so many alternative roads, we're not sure how much this road would be used. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair Randall. Senator McClellan, do you have a question?
I do, and this is for the patron. Currently, the road is under the jurisdiction of the State Corporation Commission, right?
I think yes, and that requiring frequent rate reviews.
Is there a reason why you're having the Commissioner of Highways in consultation with the Secretary of Transportation make the determination whether it's in the public interest for the conversion rather than having the SCC do that?
I think someone can answer that question better than I, but my assumption here is that is the mechanism for a PPTA is to have the administration do that. If I'm incorrect, Mr. Homer, could you?
Madam Chair, my name is Pierce Homer. I'm an independent director on the Dulles Greenway. The reason why the commissioner makes that determination is because ultimately VDOT is the owner of this road under HCA or under PPTA. When the concession period expires, under current law, it reverts to VDOT and they assume all of the long-term maintenance responsibilities. So it is in their estimation to make that type of a determination, number one. Number two, VDOT did negotiate the original agreement between the Greenway and did that to assist the State Corporation Commission in constructing this enterprise.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, just one thing to respond. Many of the concerns that Ms. Randall has, and I understand why she has those, will be part of the negotiations about the real estate taxes that have been that they're being lost, that can somehow be compensated, in other ways. But that's why this is a process bill. This is to put it in the hands of our experts here in Virginia to move this forward and come up with a deal that all of us can be pleased with. Thank you.
Yes, the language does talk about an evaluation, so that would imply many factors. I do understand that there are some folks on our virtual platform who wish to speak in opposition. But yes, come forward. You have a response?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Clark Lewis, representing Loudoun County. Just a couple of quick points before we go to Leo Rogers, who's the county attorney. Just remember, the PPTA is a procurement. There's no competition contemplated in this bill. What we're doing is taking an existing road under the Highway Corporation Act, negotiating with the current owner to see if it fits into the PPTA, minus all those code sections under the PPTA that are being deleted or in the bill. The way it typically works in a procurement is the Commonwealth does an independent review to see if it's in the best interest of the Commonwealth to build or operate a road. Well, Secretary Miller said they're not going to build or operate this road. They're not going to come in and take it over. He's ruled that out. So then we look, is there any competition from another developer, another company to want to take over this road? They're not doing that. When I do PPTA seminars, I always say 3 things to take in mind when you're a developer to do. Is there a political will? Is there the finances to do it? But never, never use the PPTA to take a deal that can't work anywhere else in the Procurement Act and use the PPTA, because that's the best way to get it done.
Okay, I'm going to ask my colleagues, can we hold, do you have a question? Okay, and then we're going to go to the speakers in the Zoom room.
Thank you,
Senator
Madam
Boysko.
Chair. I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anything that would, let's assume that this bill passes, that they go into negotiation, come back. Is there anything that prohibits the General Assembly from executing further legislation in future years that might address challenges or problems that are identified with the deal?
I don't want to speak for the Secretary, but typically you have a comprehensive agreement with the private developer that defines their rights and responsibilities to include tolling and the prices and the parameters for you. So once that contract is signed, they have a deal with the Commonwealth of Virginia for a period of time.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chairman.
Do you have other speakers, Madam Chair?
Okay, I would like to go to the speakers in the Zoom room unless you have an actual question for.
I have a question for council to follow up on Senator Boysko's question.
Okay, Senator Servo.
Council, isn't it correct that once this contract signs the contract, and we can't go modifying the contract by statute or law, we'd have to renegotiate the contract if a contract is in fact signed? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair, do you have other speakers that waiting outside?
Yes, I have speakers in the Zoom room, okay?
Some in the room here.
No, we've taken those in opposition, I believe. So let's go to those in the Zoom room. Could you please call them?
Yes, Madam Chairman, there's one speaker who'd like to speak in opposition to this bill. Leo Rogers, if you can unmute and provide your testimony now. Leo Rogers, if you can unmute and provide your testimony now.
Mr. Rogers, I believe, is the county attorney for Loudoun.
Okay. There it is.
I am. Thank you very much, Senator Favola, members of the committee. I want to follow up on Clark Lewis's comment. The Public-Private Transportation Act is an exception to procurement. So we're not going to have a procurement of a new facility. We're going to create a Public-Private Transportation Act agreement hybrid that's never been created. And it specifically violates the Public-Private Transportation Act. Virginia Code Section 33.2, 1823 specifically preserves the Highway Corporation Act by stating, nothing in this chapter shall be construed to repeal or replace the Highway Corporation Act. In addition, this bill has a glaring omission. Where is the cost-benefit analysis of saying that the Highway Corporation Act is going to bring this benefit to the taxpayers and the toll rate payers and to the Commonwealth? Secretary Miller said that nobody's going to get richer, nobody's going to get poorer. This is going to help the Commonwealth and the citizens. Then let's have a financial analysis done by the Secretary of Finance. Secretary Miller also said this merely allows the commissioner to have a conversation. Take a look at paragraph 2, the 9th line of it. It says, the General Assembly hereby authorizes the commissioner to finalize and execute a new comprehensive agreement. This is far more than having a conversation. It's going to have an agreement whose terms we don't know what they are, and it's authorizing the commissioner to execute such an agreement. There should be a reenactment clause.
Okay.
Let's go to distance-based tolling. Loudoun County has been proposed.
Mr. Rogers, I'm going to ask you to conclude your comments.
Okay, just want to let you know that
thought.
we've been trying to get distance-based tolling. The Greenway has told us it's uneconomical. It's going to cost 30 to 35 million, and they would not be able to recover it. Also, the Commonwealth, the General Assembly did fix this in 2021, made amendments to the code. There have not been any applications since 2021, nor any toll rate increases, because they've been denied by the SEC because the tolls materially discourage use. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We have heard from proponents and opponents. There's some issues that have been raised. So I will ask my colleagues, now is the time if you have comments. Okay. Senator McClellan and then Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. And let me preface it. Well, I think part of my discomfort, which I'm not saying is fatal, but I'm not ready yet, is we, the General Assembly, seem to be completely handing over the decision to the commissioner without any further review. And in doing that, we are, if the decision is made to put the road under the PPTA, we are exempting several provisions of the PPTA from the road. So my question is, why are we doing that? Why are we exempting, if the decision is made for a new agreement and for this road to go in the PPTA, why are we exempting all of these provisions of the PPTA that particularly deal with, is it in the public interest for this road to be here and how it's going to be governed?
Well, I think that the PPTA here, and I will bring up Mr. Homer again, but it's a pretty broad definition of what's in the public interest. And we have been going through constant discord over this road now for a decade. We've had bills before the legislature. It has been a difficult project from its outset, and we are using this mechanism because it is what is available to us to fix this problem. And you know, we can deal here with technical excuses as to why we don't deal with this thing, and we'd walk out of here today with the citizens of Loudoun County stuck with tolls that are going to go nothing but up, with no ability, no mechanism to be able to fix that. And the reason I don't live in Loudoun County, but the reason that I'm sponsoring this bill is because I'm chairman of the Transportation Committee, and I think it's my job when I see us at an impasse to do the best I can to solve that problem. And that's what we're doing here today. And so if I could ask Mr. Homer to answer your question in a more legal format, please.
Sure. Welcome, Mr. Homer.
Madam Chair, in response to Senator McClellan's question, in fact, there is an oversight process exercised by the General Assembly. It's referenced here in this legislation. You have something called the PPTA Steering Committee, which has representatives of the Appropriations and Finance Committee staff who do review the basic business points of every PPTA deal.
But aren't we exempting them from that?
No, ma'am. And so that's referenced in here to bring forward the basic business points here. And so that's very similar to the existing PPTA process today. And there will be, in essence, a scorecard at the end of a negotiation. Where are we in terms of toll reduction, distance-based pricing, improvements to the overall network of the region? That's built into this legislation, and it mirrors what is in the existing PPTA process today.
It does there, excuse me, I would direct us to line 29 in the bill. Is that what you're referring to? If the committee concurs that such operation under the authority and requirements of the PPTA is in the public interest, the General Assembly would then authorize the commissioner to finalize and execute?
No, this bill says if that happens, we've already authorized it. There's no further step for us, which leads to a couple other questions I have.
But there is a check at the end of the process, and do they meet up to the terms that were established at the outset in terms of distance-based pricing, of lower tolls, of improvements to that. That's the way the PPTA process works today, and it has worked very well. And I would say, particularly for those of you from Northern Virginia, how that process has worked. No PPTA, no Dulles Rail, no I-66, no I-95, no Beltway, no interchange improvements on Route 28 serving Loudoun and Fairfax counties. It has been a very successful process, in part because it does entrust the Department of Transportation to make these transactions and to do it in a business-like manner. Virginia is the only state in the country that has a program like this. And so protecting that, I think, is
Senator McClellan, and then I'm going to go to my other colleagues, and I'd like to get all the questions on the table before responses come back. Senator McClellan, I had Senator Cosgrove next, and then Senator Boysko.
So, and I think, no. I think the difference, though, is usually when we invoke the PPTA, the road hadn't been built yet. Here, we're converting a road. And so let me ask this question, and then I may have a proposed amendment that would at least get rid of some of this discomfort. The time frame for when this would all occur, I assume, would be a year, based on the fact that this expires in 2025. The idea is if you can't reach an agreement by 2025, this all goes away. Now, I've seen in other contexts where there's a delayed enactment of the ultimate authority, and in the meantime, you bring your agreement to in a report to the General Assembly, so that if we have discomfort with it, we can put in a legislation to deal with that. That might, if there's some intervening step where if the General Assembly does not believe what you have done is in the public interest, we don't have to file a bill to say that, but we do have to file a bill to stop you. You following what I'm saying?
Yeah. Madam Chair, I think I need to defer to the Secretary on this. This gets to the fundamental integrity of the Virginia PPTA program.
Okay, could you hold off 1 minute on that? I would really like Senator Cosgrove to get his question on the table or his comment.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. For Senator Marsden, I know this facility is in Senator Boysko's district. And obviously, she is in support of your bill, as you are in support of your bill. And I'm supporting your bill because I actually signed that as the chief co-patron because I grew up in Springfield and I go up there a lot. I guess the question I would have, we have our transportation issues in Hampton Roads. Northern Virginia certainly has their transportation issues. Is it your belief that most of the delegation up there supports this endeavor?
Yes.
Not
all, but yes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, Senator Boysko, then we're going to get back to Senator McClellan's process amendment. Senator Boysko.
Thanks. I just have a question. I mean, to answer Senator Cosgrove's question is that I think the majority, so Delegate Reed, I know, has been very supportive of this. There have been some questions raised by some of the local members of the Board of Supervisors, but not, I don't believe, every single member. What I want to get back to is this is a privately owned road. We do not have oversight. It's in the SEC's oversight right now. They can go and ask for a rate change or an increase at any point. This is a mechanism, from what I understand, for us to take some leverage for the Commonwealth to have a say on how this road is operated and run. And as you've heard, this has been a long and difficult conversation, but last year when we addressed this issue, we asked the Secretary to come in and study this. I am hoping that we have a gentleman's agreement here that folks will bring the elected officials and at least confer to do a check-in to make sure that we're somewhat in the same frame of mind so that we do have some input, whether it's on this paper or not. I'm going to trust that Secretary is going to to make sure that we continue to be involved, and Loudoun County is continuing to be involved in some aspect, because our people who live in my community, I am telling you, spend $400 to $500 a month on transportation. And if you go on that road, very few people are riding on it because it is so expensive. And then Route 7 and our other avenues are clogged. We need some relief here.
Okay, I think the issue here, though, is whether there's any review by the General Assembly. That's really the question, and the PPT model traditionally doesn't allow for that, but we could always build in some review. So I'm going to ask Senator McClellan, who brought up this issue initially, to see if she has an amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair, because here's the difference. Again, this is a privately owned road that will revert to the Commonwealth eventually, right?
Correct.
And in the meantime is providing revenue to both the Commonwealth and the local government. That could change in whatever, and it's a conversion of an existing road to the PPTA, not building a new road under the PPTA. So, brand new thing that doesn't fit any precedent that we've had in the Commonwealth. And what we're being asked to do is completely cut both the General Assembly and the local government that currently benefits financially from this road, cut them out of the negotiation altogether, and hope that they will have a seat at the table, but there's no guarantee they will. And that makes me uncomfortable. So one way around that is to say that there is a delayed enactment, pick 2024. There's a delayed enactment of when the decision that the agreement is in the public interest takes place. When the agreement happens, you give it to the chairs of the transportation committees and the chairs of Senate Finance and Appropriations, so that if they look at it and they say, we're comfortable with this, nothing else needs to happen, it goes forward. If they're not comfortable, then somebody can put in legislation to say, hold up, we want to stop this.
Well, Senator McClellan, I can appreciate the legal argument here. Putting this off any longer, I don't think is an option.
I'm not saying put off the negotiation of the agreement.
But to actually have the negotiations go in place, they may go very smoothly, and then we have to wait to implement that to the relief of Loudoun County drivers. I don't think, but what I heard is that there are members of the appropriation staff Senate appropriation staff who are on the advisory group or the governing group who report back to Senator Barker and Senator Howell with what's going on, and certainly at that point in time, their influence is, I think, significant here. But we have an administration, and there's nothing that says that this legislature and this administration cannot work hand in hand to solve this problem. But I don't believe we can wait. This has gone on long enough.
Okay, all right.
Madam Chair, this has gone on long without a motion.
This bill will have to go. We do not have
debate for some time.
We do not have a motion. This bill will have to be re-referred to finance. So, Senator Suderline, we gave people the opportunity to voice their concern and to articulate possibly a pathway forward. Okay, Senator Suderline, would you like to make a motion?
No, I hadn't entered in debate. I wanted someone that was articulating all this debate to just make the motion of what they wanted, because I think the other side has the votes one way or the other, and I can't tell which way you have them.
Okay. Senator Cosgrove has a motion for us.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It's with delight, actually, that I ask that we recommend reporting, or that we report this bill and move it on to finance, where I'm sure it'll be gently treated.
Okay. I will second that motion.
Now watch. Now watch.
Will the clerk open the roll, please?
Ayes 13, noes 1.
Madam Chair,
your bill is reported and
thank you to all of our witnesses.
I do want to say to those in the audience that the Finance Committee will have another crack at this, and they may be able to come up with language that provides a more robust review by members of the General Assembly. So thank you to both sides who took the time to come out and debate this very important issue.
$871. $871.
Thank you, Senator Serval. Which one did you want to take first?
871.
871. We have 871 before us. Please proceed.
Yeah, my witness isn't, my other bill's not back yet. So, ladies and gentlemen, this bill has to do with our auto dealer franchise law. I think as you all, everybody here knows, you know, we have a three-tiered system in Virginia for lots of things, for beer, for wine. We actually have it for gasoline, and we also have it for cars. And, you know, our auto dealers in Virginia are not owned by manufacturers. They're independent businesses. They're owned typically by Virginians, and that ensures competition, pricing, selection, which is why we usually do a three-tiered system. And these are family-owned businesses that in many cases span generations and have been involved in our communities for decades. Each of these dealers has a franchise agreement with the manufacturer, and as the automotive world has begun to evolve, issues have arisen with these agreements through time. And our law dates back to 1960. And these laws exist in every single state in Virginia. And under the laws, our dealers, they have recourse from termination, coercion, unfair acts against these giant, large, multinational corporations that extend over oceans because they can exert significant bargaining leverage against these smaller Virginia businesses. With some of the changes you've seen in the automotive system over the last decade, some manufacturers sort of see this as an opportunity to try and seize control of the retail sale of vehicles to sort of maximize their own profits, but that's going to, I think, have an effect on both prices Virginians pay and the selection of models and choice that they have in the community. So this bill, basically, the intent of it is to try to change or to prevent this radical change to the franchise system. Mr. Chairman, I have some line amendments I'd like to offer really quick that sort of I need to be able to explain as we go. So I'd like to move those line amendments.
Does the staff have the line amendments to report before we move them?
Mr. Chairman, they should be posted online.
Are you good?
They're online.
They're online? Could you
Yes.
Basically summarize them?
Mr. Chairman, so the first one is on line 28, after forward inserts or entitled to. The second is line 29, after payments, inserts, or benefits.
Mr. Chairman, it's going to take him forever to read them that way.
All right.
Can I just say these are some amendments that have been worked out between the dealers and the manufacturers. They've already been adopted in another chamber, another end of a building. But it is irrelevant. But I think it sort of will help to shorten our debate a bit and comments on the bill.
Senator Cosgrove.
The amendments are online. I would move the amendments in a block.
Okay. We have a motion on the second. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Go ahead, Senator Serval.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just to walk you through the lines 25 through 31 make clear that manufacturers can't threaten dealers by can't coerce them by threatening to withhold incentives. So, you know, these manufacturers provide certain incentives to dealerships, and there are several other areas in the code that address abuses of incentive programs, such as facility upgrades, and how dealer performance is measured for purpose of access to certain vehicles, how a dealer has to provide data to manufacturers, that kind of thing. And there was a couple amendments we just made to that were made at General Motors' request, that a dealer would still have to qualify for incentive programs. And the Alliance of Auto Innovators also requested an amendment explaining to a dealer whether or not they qualified for an incentive that was not prohibited, which is what that one of the other line amendments you just made was. Line 93 through 129, that's really, I think, the meat of the bill. And that sort of goes after the manufacturer-controlled model, which is to ensure that our dealers are actually still independent sellers of these cars. So basically prohibits a manufacturer from negotiating the sale or lease of a vehicle directly with consumers. So in other words, you can't go to Ford and negotiate what kind of car or the make, model, whatever details you're going to buy from Ford, and then have Ford just deliver the vehicle to the dealership where you pick it up. So you have to negotiate it actually with the dealership. Prohibits the manufacturer retaining ownership of the vehicles until they're sold or leased. Prohibits consignment of the vehicles instead of dealers selling them. It reserves the right to negotiate reserves dealerships' rights to negotiate the terms of sale or lease directly with consumers, and the right to offer, negotiate directly with consumers on the sales of other products. Dealerships sell a lot of other products. When you buy a car, I'm sure you know once you picked your car, you go into this room and you meet with a guy and he talks about, do you want an extended service contract? Do you want to buy this additional service for like tire replacement or oil changes and all those things? And so it leaves those rights in the dealership's ambit, and it prohibits manufacturers from making dealerships the delivery agent for a manufacturer. So that, again, you can't order the car from the manufacturer and then pick it up. There's a couple amendments that were made, clarifying amendments requested by General Motors and the Alliance about price listings and allocation issues, which were in those line amendments you just adopted. Then lines 392 through 98 make clear that a manufacturer cannot unilaterally amend their franchise agreement. Unilateral amendments happen in some other, I've seen them happen in other cases. You see them a lot in health insurance. This prohibits that. And then line 581 clarifies a warranty bill that we passed last year at the request of GM, and requires disclosure of the charge for each accessory or functional vehicle that's initiated, updated, or changed, maintained by the manufacturer distributor over the air or remote means. So a lot of times these new cars, there's changes in the car that happen over the air to their software. Line 648 to 52 makes clear manufacturer can't get around the franchise laws by set up a subsidiary to distribute vehicles, so they can't just set up a subsidiary corporation.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Senator Servitt.
I'm almost done.
Excuse me.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Also prohibits a manufacturer from owning or operating a dealership in Virginia. It makes it clear that the bill doesn't apply to Tesla, Rivian, or Lucid, which have you order directly from them model.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Does anybody oppose this bill?
Sort of. I think there's some opposition. I'm not sure how aggressively they're going to oppose, but go ahead. We can hear from them if you want.
Okay.
Those on Zoom who would like to speak in opposition to this bill, please raise your hand
There's
electronically.
people in the room, too. But, yeah.
There are no speakers with their hands raised in opposition. Mr. Chairman.
Hold on, we need to do anyone in favor.
There's some people in favor. There's some dealerships here that are in favor.
There's no one opposed.
Is there,
we've taken more visits.
okay.
Okay. I think they're going to stay in their seats.
Mr. Chair, I move that we report.
Okay. Is there,
Second.
hold on, folks. Is there a motion on the bill?
I'll second
Senator
that.
Cosgrove moves that we report the bill as amended.
Second.
Do you have a second?
Yes.
We have a second?
Yes.
Clerk, open the rolls.
Ayes 14, no zero.
Ayes 14, no zero. Bill
Great.
reports.
You want to do another one now?
Yes, you may.
All right, folks, this one's a little simpler. This one has to do with the Lemon Law. Lemon Law got adopted in 1984, and this basically extends the Lemon Law to small businesses, really small businesses. So just so you all understand what the lemon law does. Okay? The lemon law says that within an 18-month period after you buy a car, if there's something really bad that happens to the car, a really bad problem with it, the dealership and the manufacturer gets one chance to repair it. If it's something that's not that jeopardizes safety, they get 3 chances. So if it's like the radio, they get 3 chances to repair. But if it's like the transmission, the car won't, if it just stops, they get 1 chance to repair. But the most important thing about the lemon law is that once a car is within the lemon law, the responsibility to fix it really goes to the manufacturer and not the dealership, right? Because if it's not within the lemon law, it's all on the dealership to fix the car. But if it's in the lemon law, then the manufacturer has a whole program they do to take the car, replace it, fix it, or whatever. It's a whole different situation. So basically what this bill does is it says that the lemon law will apply if a small business has 5 or less cars and they use it for business purposes. So think about like if you got a landscaping service, or think about if you're a plumber and you're driving around in a conversion van, like a Econoline van or something like that. So it basically says it applies to cars that are under 10,000 pounds, owned by a business, 5 or fewer vehicles. We're not talking like rental car companies or fleet vehicles or anything like that, just 5 or fewer. You know, one of these, if one of these cars goes bad on a small business, it can completely destroy a business. And by putting these cars, these business cars, into the lemon law, we're taking the responsibility away from the dealership, if the car is a lemon, and putting it with the manufacturer, which is where the problem really is. Okay, which we're taking away from the Virginia businesses and putting it with the manufacturer to solve the problem. And I'm telling you, these manufacturers are set up and they solve the problem. They can deal with lemons. But so your local auto dealership, they get some lemon car. It's a whole different situation, and it's a lot harder to resolve. I have one witness who's here to speak in favor of it, and I believe that the manufacturers oppose it.
Madam Chair, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Sproul.
A couple of questions. First one, I don't know of any small business that had more than just 5 cars. So why did you say 5? I don't know of.
Senator Sproul, I do have an amendment to reduce that to 3.
Well, something wrong with that too. No, sir. No,
Okay.
I'm saying it should be more than that. I don't know of any legitimate business that got a small car business and that who can stay in business with just 5 cars.
Mr. Chairman, I was thinking, for example, of a landscaping company might only have like a couple pickups, or like I said, a plumber was one example I gave. I mean, a handyman, he might only have a van that he operates himself. Like if you're a sole proprietor and all you got is you, and you drive around in a Ford F-150 or you drive around in a Econoline van, you got 1 car, right? So if the committee wants to take it higher, it's fine with me as long as it doesn't jeopardize the bill. But I was really just trying to focus here on situations with really small businesses where you're talking about like a mom and pop kind of shop thing and not somebody that had a ton of employees. That's what I was trying to focus on here.
Second question, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Sproul.
Second question, then let's go with your scenario, the small mom and pop types.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with the lemon. So now, you're saying I got to go back to the manufacturer, not to the business. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is the manufacturer will get involved and take responsibility for the problem, whereas if it's outside of the lemon law, the only person you can deal with is the dealership. That's who ends up solving the problem most of the time, if it's not in the lemon law.
Mr. Chairman, last question, that's my problem having. A lot of folks, even under the present situation we have now, when you say it's not the dealership, it's a manufacturer, could you imagine how hard it is for a car dealer, a person now, saying that if I bought a car from a dealer, I'm talking about right now, if I bought a car from a dealer and I got a problem, and it's a manufacturer's problem, could you imagine as a manufacturer how hard it is for me to find out all the loopholes to get to the manufacturer to fix my car? I want to go back to the dealer. I bought it from him, let him fix my car.
Mr. Chairman, let me be clear. The dealerships are the ones that try to make the repairs for the manufacturer. But my point is if the car becomes if they can't fix the problem, and this happens a lot, if they can't fix the problem, then the dealership steps in and says, we're taking the car back, we'll give you a new car. A dealership, it's a lot harder for a dealership to give you a new car and take back this other car they can't sell to anybody, right? And that makes it really hard to resolve. But the manufacturer can do that.
Okay. Other questions for the And I see Senator Serval, you had someone you wanted to testify?
Yeah.
Thank you, Senator Serval. Mr. Chairman, my name is John Gale and members of the committee. I have a small law firm called the Consumer Law Group, and in 1991 we amended the lemon law with Senator Alan Diamondstein's help so that it was usable by consumers. This law has been amended several times since then. I've been involved in all of those amendments as I was in 91. In the initial lemon law, there was a provision that we wanted to avoid fleet owners being able to access it because the point is that an individual is not on the same playing field as a fleet or Hertz or an Avis to go to the manufacturer and say, we've got these cars, they're screwing up, and fix them. So we had a provision in the lemon law that said it applied to personal, family, or household use. What's become clear since 1991 to me, and I'm one of the few lawyers in the state either stupid enough or crazy enough to try to make a living on the lemon law, that there are many times that I get called by one owner vehicle who uses it for his business or her business, but also for personal use. And I'll find out from them, and I say, do you have it? Is it used primarily for your business? Well, yeah, I go to work a lot, and and I said, well, we can't help you. And he either goes out of business because he can't fix the car. This is a defect that's significant where the vehicle or the truck isn't working, and he either goes out or has to pay for it alone or bring some legal action against the dealer rather than the manufacturer, and then his prices go up, and it hurts Virginians, it hurts a small business.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Are we ready now? Let's hear from anyone who would like to speak in favor of the bill.
Those that would like to speak in...
Okay, could you just tell us who you are and why you're excited?
I'm not in favor, sir.
You're not in favor? Okay.
No, sir.
Those that would like
Anyone
to speak
else here to speak in favor of the bill?
Those that would like
Anyone
to speak
online?
in favor of this bill, please raise your hand electronically. There are no speakers with their hands raised in favor, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone here to speak in opposition to the bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Chrissy Noonan. I'm with Reed Smith, and I'm here today on behalf of General Motors. General Motors respectfully opposes this bill. As Senator Serval said, and his witness, the lemon law has been in effect since 1984, and it's been in effect since then to protect individual consumers who purchase vehicles for personal, family, or household use. That language is still in the statute, and it's in the section that talks about the intent of what the purpose of the chapter is. Business vehicles are different from personal vehicles for a number of reasons, but I very briefly want to tell you two that I think are the most important. The first is that business vehicles are treated differently. Often there are different drivers who are driving the vehicles every day, drivers who are not familiar with how the car normally drives, so they won't know if it feels different, and they may not be as concerned if a light is on in the vehicle because it's not their vehicle and maybe someone else already reported it to the boss. They're also driven rougher, typically, and have unusual usage cycles. And the second point, and I think it's a really important one, is that businesses get financial benefits that individual owners of vehicles like you and I, those of us who are not small business owners or large business owners, they get benefits that we do not get for our personal vehicles. They are entitled to tax benefits on business vehicles that personal vehicles are not entitled to, like depreciating value of your business vehicle. And by allowing businesses to receive this benefit, in addition to the financial benefits that they are already receiving through tax breaks, it is, in a sense, sort of doubly rewarding businesses when individual consumers are not at the same playing field. And I understand this year it's 5 vehicles in the bill, but next year it could be 10, and the year after that could be 50. Unfortunately, that's the way these things go, and it is a threshold issue for the manufacturers and for General Motors in particular, that lemon laws were meant to apply to individual consumers who purchase vehicles for their family. For those reasons, we respectfully request that you defeat the bill. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Anyone else here to speak in opposition?
If anyone else in Zoom
Yeah.
would like to speak in opposition to this bill, please raise your hand electronically.
Okay, if you can just take a minute to do that.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Fred Helm on behalf of the Alliance for Automotive Innovation, we would oppose the bill also for the same reasons mentioned by General Motors. I would also suggest that in 2021 this issue was considered and not pursued. If there is appetite to change this policy decision and apply the lemon law to business, I would suggest we have a work group to examine that so that we know what the impacts are on prices, manufacturers, dealers, and the whole set of stakeholders that might be impacted by the policy change.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else in opposition? All right. Any other questions from the committee?
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Cosgrove.
Yeah, I just have to say, I think this is a pretty good bill. I really don't want to see it lowered from 5 to 3. In fact, I'd like it a lot better if it was up to 10. But let me say a couple of things. Number one, so businesses get tax breaks and they get depreciation. Who cares? This is a lemon law. This is a piece of junk car that can't be fixed by the dealership that goes back to the manufacturer who should have made a good product to begin with. This doesn't happen that often. But these small businesses, and Senator Spruill is absolutely right, you're not going to find many small businesses that are really in business that have less than 3 to 5 trucks or cars or whatever. And to be, with respect to some of the folks who just talk, our propensity to send things to work groups, it's a cop-out. We just need to do the work here. And I hope that we'll support this bill. Because if a small business person buys a car through his business, he's still buying that car. And I think he ought to be protected just as he would as a private individual. So
Thank you. And I am not going to offer an amendment on the bill. Any other questions or comments from the committee? Can we have a motion on the bill?
Move to report the bill.
Have a motion to report. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to report the bill. Clerk, would you open the roll?
Ayes 8, noes 5, abstentions 1.
Ayes 8, noes 5, abstentions 1. Oh, excuse me.
Can we destroy that roll? I have a proxy that I better do correctly.
All right. Could we destroy the roll, please, and redo the vote?
No.
Mr. Chairman, I forgot there was a line amendment that I forgot to make. If you want to knock that out really quick, it doesn't.
Certainly.
I don't think
And what
it's
is the line
substantive.
amendment? He withdraws the motion. What is the
It
line
was just a
amendment?
cleanup council caught that aligns the intent of the bill.
We have a motion to move the amendments, the senator's amendment. All in favor? All opposed? Excuse me. Should we have actually, do we have to have a motion to reconsider? Just destroy the roll? Okay. All right. Let's go on and recreate the roll with
the line amendment.
It was voted on.
Okay, so what are we voting on now?
All right.
Reconsider?
Let's go with, let's have a motion to, let's kill that one. Let's go with a motion to reconsider the vote. Reconsideration. We have a motion from Senator, who voted on the prevailing side?
Pike. McPike.
What's that? Someone who voted on the prevailing side, other than me?
Okay, having voted on the prevailing side where we voted to report SB 815, I ask that we reconsider that vote.
All right, we have a motion and a second to reconsider. So open the rolls. Reconsider.
Ayes 14, no 0.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move the line amendment.
And we have do we have a motion on the line amendment?
I just made it.
Just made it. We have a second. We have a second on the line amendment. All in favor of the line amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Now I move to report as amended.
Second.
And now the bill has been, we have a motion and a second to report the bill as amended. Open the roll.
Ayes 7, no 6, abstentions 1.
Ayes 7, no 6, abstention 1. Limped out of here. Thank you, Senator Serval.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Next up, Senator Cosgrove. He has 4 fairly quick ones. But while he's setting up, can I have a motion to send Senator Reeves's bill to take it by for the day, 1196? Do I have a motion on that? So moved and seconded to pass Senator Reeves' 1196 by for the day. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have one other matter here, which is there's been a request to move Senate Bill 1010, Senator DeSteff's bill, to judiciary. Rather than hearing it here and hearing it all over again there, let's just move it on. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Motion and a second to move Senate Bill 1010 of Senator Reeves to judiciary. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
It's a recorded vote.
Oh, it's a recorded vote. Excuse me.
You're good. You're good, Senator.
Never mind, I got it. All right. Yep.
Ayes 13, no 0.
Thank you.
Ayes 13, no 0. The bill is referred to judiciary. Senator Cosgrove, what do you have for us?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have 4 bills for you today. The first one's going to be real easy on you. I just want to tell you a little bit about it first. A young lady that works in my office in our real life bought a car from a company called Vroom. All right, VROOM. She paid for the car, somehow got it financed, but had never received a title. Went on for months, received no title. I had my chief of staff call these Vroom people, and they're in Texas. They have no presence here in Virginia. And after speaking to my aide for about 30 minutes, they told her to just, excuse the expression, go to hell. There's nothing you can do to us. And that really irritated me. 2 reasons. Number 1, I really like my chief of staff. And number 2, I was really irritated these people would do business that way. I had a bill that just said that the Commonwealth would not issue a title for any company that did not have a physical presence in the Commonwealth of Virginia for an internet sale. Reason being is that the only reason we can't reach out and touch Vroom is because they're in Texas and we'd have to take legal action there. And nobody's going to spend that kind of money for this kind of recovery. So what I'm asking, Mr. Chairman, is to take this bill, to PBI the bill with a letter from you to the Commissioner of DMV asking for a solution to this problem by next session. And I've talked with DMV Commissioner and she's agreeable.
So moved.
Motion to PBI the bill with a letter to the, I'm sorry, Senator.
Commissioner of DMV.
To the Commissioner of
DMV.
Of DMV.
Yes, sir.
To look at the issue. We have a second? Second. All, this is to PBI. With the letter. Yeah, from me. To DMV. To DMV, from me. Senator Cosgrove will prepare the letter to do that. All set. Open the roll. Nobody said anything to me about it.
Ayes 13, no 0.
Ayes 13, no 0. The bill is PBI'd and with a letter to the Commissioner of Department of Motor Vehicles.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, next I have Senate Bill 868. And there was a real boo-boo in this one. Basically, when we had this drafted, it was supposed to just say that when you're paying a fine, for passing a school bus, you should have some extra time because it's just a matter of number of days. Somehow it got drafted to say we're going to take the $250 fine down to a $50 fine. And I went, no. My phone started blowing up. And so anyway, we have the amendments. They should be before you. If it just reinstates the $250 fine and strikes the $50 fine. It also, on line 28, introduced after within, you strike the remainder of line 28 and insert 30. And what that does is it gives people a few extra business days to be able to pay these fines. Exactly. Get paid, pay the fines, have to go through the mail process, whatever. And that's the bill.
Mr. Chairman, I move the amendment.
Second.
All those in favor of the amendments, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The amendments are agreed to.
I move we report the bill as amended.
May I say just one more thing before you take action on that, please? All right.
Does the insurance information stay in, or
Yeah.
that's taken out that they can't use?
No, the only thing that's changed is this. Just
Insurance companies should be able to use a conviction.
I haven't touched any of that. Okay, Mr. Chairman, I will say that a constituent of mine had one of these fines. Okay, it wasn't actually for a school bus, but it was going too fast in a school zone for a photo. That person actually took the ticket to the Chesapeake courthouse to pay it. Couldn't do it. Since it was photo generated and came through one of those companies, you could not pay it in court unless you went to court and were either found guilty or not guilty of the infraction. What he had to do is go back home and use a credit card to pay this bill and pay a $2.50 administrative fee to pay the bill. Now, I'm not going to address it in this bill this time, but we got to fix that. That's ridiculous. Especially when a $250 fine, that should be enough.
Very good. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor?
Anyone on Zoom who would like to speak in favor of this bill, please raise your hand electronically.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I really can't state the bill any better than Senator Cosgrove, and we appreciate him bringing it forward today. This really is a pro-law enforcement and pro-citizen bill, and we think it's going to fix a number of issues, certainly in the city of Chesapeake and maybe elsewhere. Our subject matter expert, Chief Selesky, is here with us through Zoom, so if you have any questions.
And you're with the city?
I am with the city of Chesapeake.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Anyone here in opposition to the bill? Oh, excuse me, did you want to speak in?
Go ahead.
Certainly not. Bob Bradshaw with the Independent Insurance Agents of Virginia. We're certainly not opposed to the intent of changing the time frame in which to pay the bill. However, it was our understanding that where it says shall not be considered, a conviction shall not be considered or used for motor vehicle insurance purposes, we don't necessarily want to cover somebody that's been convicted of running around a bus that's been fully lit. So if there is a conviction, we feel that's a vehicle operating conviction that we ought to be able to use in terms of increasing their insurance or not. Or saying we don't want to cover somebody that ignores the sign, the lights.
Mr. Chairman, I'd respond to that basically this is a civil infraction. There's no conviction whatsoever. Basically, it's here, your photo was taken doing this. You can, protest that, say, hey, it wasn't me, somebody else was driving my car, whatever. But maybe one of our lawyer friends could make the differentiation, but I don't think this actually is a conviction. It's a civil action that basically doesn't go on the record.
Mr. Chairman?
That would be correct. Senator Sproul.
I think Senator Cosgrove's right. Most insurance companies, especially their lawyers, you pay your monthly fee or whatever you pay for your insurance. And any infraction you get, such as that, going around the bus, you can get a ticket for going around the bus. They just want to use that excuse to raise your rates. So I think we shouldn't worry about that. I'm ready to make a motion on Senator Cosgrove's bill as it is.
Okay. It is, we have a motion. And is anyone else to speak in opposition? Sir?
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Mr. Chairman, there's
Very quickly.
2 people on Zoom who would like to speak in favor.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I'm glad this was clarified. The typo is definitely created some confusion. I came down here 2 hours primarily for this bill. This concerned me for Fauquier County Route 17 because we have some serious problems with the school buses being passed. So
thank you very much. And we have in favor. I think. Well, everybody take 1 minute online.
Vic Nichols, if you would like to unmute and please begin your testimony.
Hi, good afternoon. This
definitely something that was heavily talked about in our area. Senator Cosgrove is on our area, and with the exception of that amendment to move the 250 to 50, everybody else was highly in favor of this, very much so. And like I said, this was very much talked about. That was actually why Senator Cosgrove's phone blew up. But
thank you, Ms. Nichols.
Definitely was good.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols. Next.
It was mentioned that Chief Zaleski was going to speak, but he did not raise his hand when I called.
Okay.
The chief knows we're good.
So we have a motion to report. Do we have a second?
Second, and a motion.
Second. All right. Clerk, would you open the roll? Thank you. Senator Cosgrove.
Ayes 14, no zero.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have Senate Bill 1028.
1028.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this bill amends 46.2-380 relating to crash reports in records of the Department of Motor Vehicles, and it limits those reports to the owner of the vehicle at the time of the accident, of the crash. And the reason we want to do this is because if somebody buys a vehicle later and orders that crash report, they had no part of that. Those crash reports have personal and identifiable and usable data that really shouldn't be out to the general public on a crash report. Now, this is, again, after somebody else has either bought the car or whatever. It does not affect Carfax. It doesn't affect any crash reporting outside of personal information. And DMV is here to speak to the issue if you so desire.
Okay. Anyone else to speak in favor?
Anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this bill, please raise your hand electronically.
Okay. Anyone here to speak in opposition to the bill?
If anyone would like to speak in opposition, please raise your hand electronically. There are no speakers with their hands raised, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
No opposition. We have a motion on the bill.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Servo.
I just have a quick question for council. I just want to confirm that this wouldn't change whether or not this record would be obtained by subpoena. Doesn't look like it.
It would not.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So moved.
Now, do we have a motion on the bill? We have Senator Spruill moves the bill. We have a second?
Second.
Okay, you have a motion to second. Clerk, would you open the roll?
Ayes 14, no zero.
Ayes 14, no zero. The bill reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My last bill is Senate Bill 1027. This bill is a cleanup bill to harmonize the state and federal codes by eliminating the option for a motor carrier to satisfy the periodic annual inspection requirement through what's called a violation-free roadside inspection. And this change is necessary to ensure that we continue to receive federal grants from the Motor Carrier Safety Assistance Program. And the section references 46.2-1158.01 of the Code of Virginia. This change of course is going to have vehicles that are going to be more cleanly inspected. The ability to inspect these vehicles and the infrastructure currently exists and won't take a whole lot of extra effort on the part of the Commonwealth of the people that inspect these vehicles. Mr. Secretary, folks are here from the state police if you need to hear from them.
All right. Anyone here to speak in favor of the bill? Oh, excuse me. Any questions from the committee? Anyone here to speak in favor of the bill?
Anyone on Zoom who would like to speak in favor of this bill, please raise your hand electronically.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Ron Maxey, Virginia State Police. We appreciate Senator Cosgrove carrying this bill for the state police. This is to keep us in compliance with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Assistance Program funds that the Commonwealth receives for commercial enforcement of federal regulations. Some of the language has changed a bit in here, but Essentially what it does, it just removes the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance inspection. That's valid for a 90-day period. The federal US DOT has said that is not sufficient to count as an annual inspection, so it just removes that language, makes it a little cleaner.
All right. Anyone here to speak in opposition to the bill?
If anyone would like to speak in opposition, please raise your hand electronically. There are no hands raised in opposition, Mr. Chairman.
Move the report.
I will second the motion.
All right, we have a motion to report, and it has been seconded. Clerk, would you open the roll?
Ayes 14, no zero.
Ayes 14, no zero. Thank you.
Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman,
Senator Cosgrove.
Mr. Chairman, I'll go next.
We're going to hear one more bill, and then
Chairman.
I'm going to make a motion that the remaining 5 bills be passed by for the day due to the hour
Mr.
starting to
Chairman.
get late.
Mr. Chairman. Mr.
And,
Chairman.
Squirrel, you want to do yours?
Yes, please.
Okay, we'll do yours too, but we'll do Mr.
He's a trip.
We'll do an Obenshain first, Senator Spruill. We're going to do Senator Obenshain first, then we'll do you, and then we'll move the other bills by for the week.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Senate Bill 1238. This just corrects an oversight that we have made when Senator Servell's bill increasing the minimum limits for everybody's motor vehicle insurance was passed. Right now, everybody has to carry $30,000 of liability insurance coverage. The TNC bill, instead of cross-referencing that minimum limit statute, included the $25,000 limit that was the old limit. What this does is simply cross-references the statute establishing minimum limits to make sure that my personal auto coverage is the same as the minimum auto coverage carried by TNCs, and that's for the time period when they don't have anybody in the vehicle. So that's all that this does, is conforms those provisions.
Thank you, Senator Obenshain. Questions for the patron? Okay. Do we have anyone here to speak in favor of the bill?
Not unless you want to hear from somebody.
If anyone on Zoom would like to speak in favor, please raise your hand electronically.
Okay. If
There are
you
no
don't want to
speakers.
call a witness, we'll take that as a don't need them.
Move to
And
report.
those hold on. Anyone here to speak in opposition to the bill?
If anyone would like to speak in opposition, please raise your hand electronically. There are no speakers, Mr. Chairman.
All right. We don't seem to have any opposition. Do we have a motion on the bill? We have a motion and a second to report the bill. Clerk, would you open the roll? Okay. All right. What do we got? We got everybody voting?
Ayes
No.
14, no zero. Senator
No.
Obenshain, your vote will be noted.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right, Senator Spruill, you said we'd be quicker than Obenshain, so. Good afternoon. It's our last bill. Is your mic working? Or get closer to your mic.
Thank you,
There you
sir. Last time, we had no real opposition to the bill, but they said to go back to let the staff fix it. So the staff fixed the bill, and what I did, I got with the superintendent. Are you the superintendent?
I'll take that.
Yep, anyway.
Do we have a substitute?
Yes, I have a substitute.
Okay, substitute's been moved and seconded. All in favor of the substitute, say aye. All opposed? Okay. We have a substitute in front of us. Senator Spruill, explain the substitute.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, so I asked with the substitutes is such on line 18, introduce after light strike, such as by covering the headlights with a tinted film or by use of a blue bulb. However, such prohibition should not be construed to prohibit the installation and use of headlights of type approved by the superintendent. So what I did, want to know, will this fix this? So I went in, I talked to the superintendent while what? I apologize, I don't keep calling you superintendent, or whatever, he is superintendent to me.
The representative of the superintendent.
And he said this will fix the problem, and I have it. So I don't want to go through the whole thing again, but I want to make sure that those concerns that we had, that he thought with the state inspection of, under them, it will fix the problem.
Okay, we've heard testimony on this bill before, so I'm not going to ask for support or opposition. State police seem to be fine with it, so we have a motion to report. We have a second. We have a motion and a second to report. Open the roll, please. Now, all right. What do we got? Has everybody?
Suderline?
Senator Pillion, you've.
Ayes 12, noes 1.
Ayes 12, noes 1. The bill reports. Now, could I have someone provide me a motion to take Senate Bill 847, Senator Favola, Senate Bill 861, Senator Locke, Senate Bill 901, Senator Marsden, Senate Bill 977, Senator Mason, Senator 981, Senator Marsden, Senate Bill 995, Senator Marsden, and the last one is 1326. That's Senator McClellan's bill. So I got a motion to take those by for the week. Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those bills will be heard next week, and we've had twice the number of bills this year than we had last year, and this is the 6-week session. So I'm going to reconstruct the docket here to probably use our last meeting to do a few more bills than I had initially intended, so that we can get through this a little bit quicker. But with that, committee will rise.